Northern Ireland this evening, and things turning a bit brighter to end the day over northwest Scotland. Not just brighter, but also a little bit fresher here as well. We won't have the humidity as high here as it will be elsewhere. The cloud and the rain continue to edge in across northern England, a little bit of it getting into southern parts of Wales and the Midlands, and then another pulse of showery rain. Again, some of it heavy comes in through the night for Northern Ireland and Scotland. A warm, humid, uncomfortable night tonight. Temperatures in the south and towns and cities holding up in the high teens in places. So a wet start to the weekend then for central and eastern Scotland, but that showery rain should scoot away. Quite cloudy for many to begin with tomorrow, but I think the cloud will tend to break up. Many places will see some sunny spells. A few showers always threatening to come in across the highlands, but otherwise turning a lot drier and a lot brighter. Sunny spells for many through the afternoon. Not as hot as today across the east, but still temperatures getting into the high 20s. Higher still on Sunday.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Drivers on the A9000 Forth Road Bridge should exercise caution due to high winds. On the M56 westbound in Cheshire West and Chester, a broken down vehicle partially blocks one lane. Normal traffic flow is expected by 9:35 this morning. On the A3M northbound at Junction 2 in Hampshire, all lanes are closed due to animals, causing 15-minute delays. Normal conditions should return by 11:15 this morning. And on the trains, major disruption affects Avanti West Coast services between Preston and Wigan Northwestern, and northern services between Preston and Bolton. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me. What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, it's 9:30 on Friday the 19th of June, live across the UK. Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, the big story today, Andy Burnham comfortably wins in Makerfield.
People here have voted for change. It will never be a stepping stone to me, but instead will be my touchstone. But I do say to my own party, this is a final chance to change.
It was a landslide victory, 55% of the vote, a majority over 9,000 over Reform, which was trailing in a poor second. And now there will be a showdown with Sir Keir Starmer for the keys to number 10.
Yes, after Andy Burnham's decisive victory in Makerfield last night, Keir Starmer faces a very difficult decision. Stand aside and allow an orderly transition, or cling on to power and face a bruising leadership contest. I think there's going to be a lot of soul searching in Downing Street this weekend.
Andy Burnham beat all 13 candidates put together up here in Makerfield. What happens next? That is his big choice over the next few days. He heads to Westminster later, but within the hour, we'll be hearing from both Sir Keir Starmer and Andy Burnham as the battle for the leadership starts to take into focus.
And as Andy Burnham wins big here, I've been speaking to people in Ashton in Makerfield this morning. They're telling me already the pressure is on to feel the change that in that winning speech Andy Burnham promised.
And what does this mean for the fight on the right? Reform came second, Restore Britain third, but their combined votes would not have beaten Burnham. Richard Tice spoke to GB News earlier.
And we had a number of Reform voters, specifically tactically on this occasion, voted Burnham to guarantee to remove the most unpopular Prime Minister in living memory.
I'm disappointed by that, no question about it.
Well, that was Nigel Farage admitting that the result was disappointing.
And to my friends, supporters and volunteers, we did it.
Well, to Scotland, where in Aberdeen South it turned blue with the Tories winning their first by-election in Scotland since 1967. Douglas Lumsden celebrates.
I had a really good campaign. I spent a lot of time out on the doors listening to folk, and I'm really happy with the result.
And, of course, there were 3 by-elections last night. Andrew, in that third clip was the SNP. They did manage to hold on to Arbroath and Broadtree Ferry. That was Lara Bird. So a Conservative win, an SNP win and a Labour win.
Absolutely, and it's a massive victory for Andy Burnham. It is beyond doubt, in my view, now he will be Prime Minister. It's not if, but when. So I think my own instinct is the Prime Minister will fight on if he can, because he's the Prime Minister. He is automatically on the ballot paper. We know he's already raised £100,000 from supporters to fight a leadership campaign. Burnham will have raised even more.
Yeah.
I'm sure about that.
Well, lots of Labour MPs wanting a coronation, not a campaign, a fight, a candidacy over the summer. And actually, Harriet Harman on the BBC this morning saying that she absolutely thinks it should be decided by the MPs and not the members, because it's a government, they're not in opposition, they need to get on with the job. But I wonder what Labour members would think about that.
Absolutely. As ever, tell us what you think. Send your views and post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's your 60-second news update with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. Well, as we have been hearing, the top story today is, of course, that Andy Burnham has won the Makerfield by-election, paving the way for him to challenge Sir Keir Starmer for the Labour leadership and possibly the keys for number 10. He secured almost 25,000 votes. That's more than Reform UK, Restore Britain and the Conservatives combined. In his victory speech, he said Labour must now listen to the voters' calls for change.
There is a chance now, from this result tonight, to build a new politics based on unity and hope.
Reform had dominated in the region during last month's local elections, but their candidate Robert Kenyon was defeated by more than 9,000 votes last night. The party's leader Nigel Farage says he's disappointed with the vote share and has urged people who choose Restore Britain to think again. Meanwhile, in Scotland, the Conservatives have taken Aberdeen South in one of 2 by-elections held north of the border. The SNP held Arbroath and Broadtree Ferry in contest triggered after previous MPs there were elected to Holyrood. In other news today, Kemi Badenoch is urging the government to challenge its sentencing bill and change it to stop anyone involved in grooming gangs being released early. The Conservative leader says victims could face a terrible experience if dangerous offenders are allowed back onto the streets sooner. Britain and France are leading an international mission to help keep ships moving safely through the Strait of Hormuz. NATO's chief says European allies can provide mine-clearing capabilities that the US lacks. And Scotland are chasing back-to-back World Cup wins when they face Morocco in Boston tonight after their historic 1-0 victory over Haiti. The First Minister, John Swinney, says Steve Clarke's side have the verve, the energy and ability to go again. Those are the latest headlines for now. Full roundup for the top stories at 10.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
What a great morning to be with you, because that was the by-election, an outstanding result for Andy Burnham. I would argue it's probably the most significant by-election, Miriam, for 60 years. You have to go back to 1963, when Alec Douglas-Hume stood down from the House of Lords, stood at a by-election in Scotland, Perthshire, won that by-election with 57% of the vote. Andy Burnham won with 55% of the vote and became Prime Minister. And I think it's exactly what's going to happen with Andy Burnham. He will be Prime Minister within either weeks or months. I still think probably around the time of the party conference.
Well, it will all depend when and if Keir Starmer steps down, doesn't it? And whether or whether he's forced out by Andy Burnham or others. So that incredible victory for Andy Burnham has paved the way for a leadership challenge against Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer. Well, here are the closing remarks of Burnham's victory speech.
People here have voted for change. They have voted for more power for the North and everywhere forgotten by Westminster. They have voted for hope. Now let's give that back to them. Thank you very much indeed, everybody.
It seems a long time ago now, Andrew, doesn't it, since Josh Simons, the former MP for Makerfield, decided to step down in order to force this exact confrontation between Burnham and Keir Starmer. We wondered if it would actually backfire, because at one point it looked like Reform could win this. Exactly. And then, of course, that would be a terrible mistake on the part of Josh Simons.
And if you remember, just a few months ago, the Prime Minister exerted his power as Prime Minister to stop Burnham being put on the shortlist for the by-election in Gorton and Denton, which was in the north, in his Greater Manchester backyard, and the Green Party won that by-election. So this time, Starmer was so weak, he had to agree to him to stand, and he won with a 9,000 majority, 55% of the vote, more than all the other 18 candidates combined. And Reform, which was supposed to be challenging hard for that seat, left trailing in their wake, with the vote split on the right, with Restore taking 7% of the vote. What did
Reform got about 34, I think.
So that's 41% of the vote. Restore could cost Reform crucial seats at the next general election. In the same way, Reform cost the Tory seats at the last election. I mean, like yours.
Indeed. I mean, it is an astonishing victory for Burnham and a real endorsement of how popular he is locally, because Labour are polling around 20% nationally. I mean, some polls have put them as low as 17% in recent months. To get 55% is such a significant improvement on the national polling. Of course, there probably was some tactical voting on the left as well, Greens and Lib Dems voting for Burnham, but quite an astonishing... I thought he'd win, Andrew, but I didn't think he'd win by that much.
No. Well, I mean, I was talking to Reform people at reception in Westminster this week, and it was clear. The only conversation in the room was how Reform managed to... how much were they going to lose by? Christopher Hope is our political editor, and he is in Makerfield. He's had a long night. Christopher, even Burnham, I imagine, was surprised by the scale of his stunning victory.
Yeah, he didn't give much away in that speech, did he, Andrew? But he almost certainly was, as you say there, winning more votes than all the other candidates put together. 55% of all votes cast went to him, 9,000 majority, doubling what Josh Simons had. That doesn't happen for a candidate of a sitting party. The last time... I think the last time actually a by-election candidate for a sitting party won was in 2014, when Robert Jenrick won that by-election for the Conservatives. That's why I think it's so interesting. Of course, what was driven here wasn't really Labour. It was driven by the need to really, frankly, get Keir Starmer out. what drove, I think, a lot of Reform voters to go to Labour, because they had to do that, given Reform swept the board here at the May local elections just in last month. What's happened now is they've gone to Labour to kick out Reform. In a sense, kick out Keir Starmer. In a sense, you've got what happened the May locals. Nigel Farage said, vote Reform to kick out Keir Starmer. Last night it was vote Andy Burnham to kick out Keir Starmer. That, I think, is a unifying factor. All eyes in the next hour will hear from both the Prime Minister on GB News and Andy Burnham at a local rally here in the Makerfield constituency. And what they say will be so interesting, I think, and that will set the tone for what will be a crazy weekend of politics. We're expecting the PM to speak to Andy Burnham about what he wants. We're told he doesn't want a role in the cabinet. He wants change to start, and it's the final chance to start that change. We'll wait and see how all that plays out. But already talk is happening about when this leadership campaign starts. It could be as soon as next week. And Wes Streeting also will have something to say.
Well, Chris Hope in Makerfield, thank you very much. We'll be back to you later on in the programme. But let's go now to GB News' political correspondent, Olivia Utley. She's live in Downing Street. Olivia, good morning. I imagine there are some tense conversations going on behind that door behind you.
Well, I imagine that there are. We saw Keir Starmer slip out of the back door this morning, wanting to stay out of the glare of the media spotlights. I think it's worth dwelling again for a moment on that seismic scale of Andy Burnham's victory. Most of us were privately predicting in the GB newsrooms yesterday that he was going to win, but we weren't predicting him to win with 55% of the vote, more than all the other candidates combined. Of course, there are a couple of minor caveats. There was some tactical voting going on. The Greens, for example, only got 308 votes. The Lib Dems just 168. That's probably not something that we would see happen on a national scale, but I think it would be churlish not to accept the scale of the victory. And that scale really matters. Keir Starmer was hoping that perhaps if Andy Burnham won, he could offer him a seat in the cabinet, placate him for now, carry on a little bit longer, get everyone in the tent together. This morning, Andy Burnham is riding on a high. This by-election was called a proof of concept by-election. If Andy Burnham could win in Makerfield, a seat where Reform did so well in the local elections just a few weeks ago, then the theory is that he can win elsewhere in the country. Now Keir Starmer has a really, really tough decision to make. Senior Labour figures are already suggesting that he should stand aside and allow an orderly transition for Andy Burnham to take over. Keir Starmer has said over and over again that he has no plans to do that. He believes that because he won such a big mandate in that 2024 general election, he has a duty to the public to stay on. Well, that leaves us open to a brutal civil war within the Labour Party. Andy Burnham's going to fight, we know that. It sounds very much as though Keir Starmer is going to fight. And Wes Streeting, a man who has never made any secret of his ambition, looks as though he is going to fight as well. And the stakes just couldn't be higher. Each of those three men are going to say, essentially, that this is the last chance for the Labour Party. And for Labour MPs, that threat will ring true. Just a few weeks ago, Labour got a taste of what an extinction-level wipeout would look like. We're in for a very bruising few weeks. The question now is, when will that starting gun fire?
Indeed, Olivia. That's Olivia Utley in Downing Street. And, I mean, of course, Andy Burnham will be sworn in as an MP on Monday in the House of Commons. That would be a very important event for Labour. The MPs will be cheering to the rafters. Yeah. Will the Prime Minister be in the chamber at the time? Yeah. Which ministers will be on the front bench, Miriam? You can read a lot into who's there and who isn't there.
It will be interesting to watch, that's for sure.
Let's talk to the former Labour MP and former Minister, Bill Rammell. Good morning, Mr Rammell.
Good morning, Andrew.
This is a stunning result for Andy Burnham, and if the Prime Minister can read the runes, he will stand down honourably to avoid a damaging leadership contest. Would that be your reading of the situation?
Kind of. I mean, firstly, this is an amazing result that Andy Burnham has achieved. In the whole of my political lifetime, I've never seen a candidate from a governing party put on 10% of the vote compared to the general election a couple of years previously. There clearly is a Burnham bounce. He's an incredibly popular and effective campaigner. And I also think, you know, courage in politics is an important factor. And when this by-election was announced, you know, just a few weeks previously, Reform had won 50% compared to Labour's 27%, and yet Andy had the bottle to go for it and has won emphatically. I think Keir Starmer is a decent public servant, but it has become more and more obvious that his written authority doesn't run through government, and that has huge implications for policy making and for communications. And I think he is a decent man, and I think he should agree a timetable for departure. The one bit that I disagree with your question, Andrew, is that I think it would be healthy and good for the party and the country for there to be a leadership contest, not involving Keir, but probably involving Wes Streeting, Andy Burnham, maybe one other.
Maybe a woman, Bill. Maybe a woman.
Maybe it will be. But I think that would be good for the party and the country. I actually think it would be good for Andy Burnham, because I think Andy Burnham, you look at the polling evidence of party members, I think Andy is going to win and become Prime Minister. But a contest would enable his agenda to be questioned, challenged and scrutinised. And I think that would be good for him coming into the role of Prime Minister, good for the party and good for the country.
Well, Bill Rammell, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts this morning. I suppose the one question is, Andrew, yes, Burnham is very popular in the Manchester area. There was a good reason for people to vote for him if they don't like Keir Starmer, but can that be repeated across the country?
Yeah, and there's another thought. Popular mayors don't always make great popular prime ministers. Who might I be thinking?
I wonder. Former London mayor, perhaps. Well, coming up next, it's been a bad day at the office for Reform UK.
I'm disappointed by that, no question about it.
It's a very frank interview with Nigel Farage, because it is a really bad result for Reform, no two ways about it. This was in Makerfield in the last general election, it was their 6th highest vote in the whole country.
Yeah. 34%, they outperformed their national polling, but it wasn't anywhere near enough. But first of all, if you're in search of summer holiday sun, here's the forecast for our top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Remarkable heat at the moment across parts of France and northern Spain for the time of year. Pretty hot in Italy as well. Lots of very warm sunshine in Greece. A mixture of sunshine and a bit of cloud over the Canaries. Fine for much of Iberia. Only the small chance of seeing a shower. Temperatures in south of France along the coast close to 30 degrees, but higher than that inland, and up to 37 or 38 in Rome over the next few days, where there is an increasing chance of some showers into the early part of next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
But there's a huge amount of psychological evidence. There's lots of theories about when people make decisions and follow them with actions, their behaviour becomes consistent with the choice they made. So if you get married, you're more likely to see each other with rose-tinted spectacles, that kind of thing. The signal value of marriage is absolutely huge. I was talking to a young couple who are newly engaged just the other day, and they said it was amazing how it actually changed the way that they felt about their relationship. So it does provide extra security, and doing it in front of your friends makes a huge difference as well. It holds you to account. So there's a huge psychology behind the act of marriage. So it would be weird if there wasn't any effect at all. I found that your family background, so your age, your education, income, affects about half of your chance of staying together.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
The art world has lost its darling, probably the most respected, celebrated, influential artist of the 20th and 21st century. And as you say, career spanning 7 decades, whether you're looking at his portraits or his Californian swimming pools or his spectacular Yorkshire landscapes, he made art for the people. The art world can be a rather snobby place, which is unfortunate at times, but he made art for the people. If you think about the portraits, the people that he painted, whether it be Mr. and Mrs. Ossie Clark, the fashion designer, and Percy the cat, or Harry Styles, or a portrait of his carer.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, I'm going to try and explain what SpaceX is. It's set to become one of the most valuable companies in the world. But it's not just about rockets. Everyone will be aware. OK, well, it'd be really nice if Elon Musk could could help us out with our tech here, because I'm trying to draw a rocket and we're not able to. What is going on? I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm afraid our very own. Let's see. No, we're not. I'll try and explain what's going on with SpaceX without any visual aids. How disappointing! It's three companies, really. It's a rocket company, it's a communications company, and it's an AI company, all in one. It controls 84% of the commercial launch market in this country.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. It's 9 minutes to 10. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
It's a political earthquake. Andy Burnham has won that by-election. It was very much a personal vote for Andy Burnham. 55% of the vote, remarkable. Added 10% to their vote at the general election. Reform trailing in their wake, 9,000 votes behind. Former Labour advisor Matthew Torbett joins us now. Matthew, morning. You're an old mate of Andy Burnham. You've known him a long time. I suspect even you're surprised by how big this victory is.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of had last night about 10% being the ceiling that he'd win by. I didn't think it would be double that. It surprised even me. I think there's a factor of reasons. People that I knew that were out yesterday said every single person they had down as a don't know, that were wavering, they don't like Keir, maybe they want to give reform a go, but they like Andy. Every single one of them voted for Andy Burnham yesterday when they went round. So something got him over the line at the end. I think the Reform candidate selection was particularly very good. I think they had the right idea in picking somebody local, but he was poor quality and had his own controversies. And Andy's vote is popular. You know, we had a lot of noise that he wasn't really that popular up in the Northwest, but it is. It's everywhere you go. There's people that love Andy Burnham. So, yeah, it's a good morning.
Now, Matthew, Keir Starmer has been a particularly unpopular Prime Minister. He's one of the lowest. Yes, he's got one of the lowest polling, I think the lowest polling rating of any Prime Minister. But of course, one of the factors in that is that he's facing some very, very sticky challenges. Perhaps the country has never been more in debt. We've never been more stuck over issues like immigration and problems with trying to build infrastructure. Andy Burnham might be popular. He might be more charismatic than Keir Starmer. He certainly is. But does he have what it takes to fix those extremely difficult problems?
I think there's an improvement. There's a somewhat of an ideological belief of Andy Burnham and a real sort of political belief that Keir Starmer maybe has never quite had. I think the benefit of Andy Burnham is he's a pragmatist and he's somebody you heard last night who wants to put place first. It isn't about political beliefs at times. It's about, is this going to benefit the country, regardless of whether it goes against the traditional Labour grain. And I think it's been hard because I think he'd have liked to have announced things, and he has done, but you don't want people in Makerfield to think you're being arrogant and it's already in the bag. So, you know, the idea of cutting welfare, he's spoken that he would like to cut welfare to fund defence, and I think that's something that the majority of the country would like to see. He's spoken about the hospitality industry that is struggling and a cut to VAT that would be necessary. So I think he's coming from a stronger position than Keir Starmer did, and he's likely to engage with the backbenchers in a way that Keir Starmer didn't do, which is why I think it all started to tumble quite early, because if you don't interact with those that are unhappy with you, they will vote with their feet eventually, and we've seen that with backbench rebellions over the last 2 years.
And what of Starmer? Is your hunch, Matthew, and what are the people you've talked to, that he will fight on, even if there are cabinet resignations, which we're told could begin as early as Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah, I hope. It's been mooted before. I hope they do hold off. We need to try and win in Manchester. Andy was very frank in his own letter to the national executive.
The mayoral election, you mean?
Yeah, it's got to be held within 35 days by law. Andy said if he was allowed to stand, then he would be a big focal point in trying to ensure that Manchester stays Labour, and he's got to do right by that. And there's got to be a period of some level of stability before we know what happens. My hunch would be Keir will try to stagger on, and he will want to fight. And I think I've said it. I mean, I've said it on your channel and others for 2 years. There will be a Joe Biden-like conversation that needs to be had of, it's not going to happen. Very sad and whatever else, but it isn't going to happen. I can see why, and, listen, I might be Andy Burnham's, biggest fan potentially, but I'll be straight with you. He was poor on Newsnight 2 weeks ago, and so was Wes Streeting last week, so I can understand why Keir Starmer may go, I could beat him in a debate. I have got a plan. Maybe I win on second preferences. You don't turn around these historical poll numbers, though, and we need something different. So a timetable after the Greater Manchester mayoral election would be the wisest option, I think.
Well, Matthew Talbot, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Yeah, what comes next, Andrew? It's a very good point. There is this massive by-election. 2 million people registered to vote in the Greater Manchester area.
And by the way, it's going to cost the local taxpayer £4 million. £4 million. Why is the taxpayer paying that?
Wow.
Because this is all about, but let's not forget, this is all about Burnham's personal ambition.
Indeed.
Forget being mayor, I want to be Prime Minister.
Yeah.
So the taxpayers are lumbered with an election they don't need.
Indeed. Well, that would be a very interesting result as well. Well, really still coming up, we're talking about the battle for number 10. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
We're waiting.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Road users should be cautious crossing the A9000 Forth Road Bridge due to high winds. On the M6 northbound between junction 10 and 11 near Walsall, a collision is causing lane closures with up to 50-minute delays. In Cheshire West and Chester, the M56 westbound between junction 15 and the A494 Chester has a lane closed due to a breakdown. Cornwall's A30 westbound between the A388 Launceston East and the A395 has lane closures due to a breakdown. And on the trains, major disruptions exist between Preston and Wigan Northwestern on Avanti West Coast services and delays on Northern between Preston and Bolton. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Hello from the Imperial Island Resort in Paphos, and it's the final week to see how you could win big in time for summer. Someone has to win our stunning cash prize of £76,543.21. Just don't miss out as lines close on the 26th of June.
For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late-night TV shows. We're giving you a front-row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. It's 10 o'clock on Friday, the 19th of June. We are live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
It's Andy Burnham by a country mile in the Makerfield by-election.
People here have voted for change. It will never be a stepping stone to me, but instead will be my touchstone. But I do say to my own party, this is a final chance to change.
Well, Andy Burnham won with 55% of the vote, a majority of over 9,000, and he's now set for a showdown with Sir Keir Starmer for the keys to number 10.
Yes, Keir Starmer's closest allies are already rallying behind the Prime Minister, saying now's no time for a leadership contest and Burnham should focus on the Manchester mayoralty by-election. But does anyone beyond number 10 really believe that's realistic?
Fight on the right, Reform comes second, Restore Britain, run by Rupert Lowe, came third, but their combined votes wouldn't have beaten Burnham. Richard Tice, the Deputy Leader of Reform, spoke to GB News earlier.
We had a number of Reform voters, specifically tactically on this occasion, voted Burnham to guarantee to remove the most unpopular Prime Minister in living memory.
Well, Nigel Farage himself admitted that the result was disappointing for Reform UK.
I'm disappointed by that, no question about it.
Meanwhile, in Scotland, Aberdeen South turns blue with a Conservative win, which is the party's first by-election victory north of the border in 50 years, while Douglas Lumsden celebrates.
And to my friends, supporters and volunteers, we did it.
First time they've won that there since 1967. And the SNP managed to hold on to Arbroath and Broughty Ferry, where their candidate Lara Bird was elected.
We had a really good campaign. I spent a lot of time out on the doors listening to folk, and I'm really happy with the result.
So there might be fevered conversation in number 10, but apparently the Prime Minister's not there. He's left by the back door, number 10. Well, that's a strange thing, really. He should have gone out, head held high. He knows he's going to have millions of questions fired at him. He's going to be out and about somewhere this morning. He's talking about some policy announcement, trying to show that the job goes on. And, of course, he is still Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Andy Burnham isn't an MP till Monday when he's sworn in.
And lots of people will be hoping, lots of people in the Labour Party hoping that Keir Starmer just steps down and allows this combination, but I don't think he'll do that. And as Matthew Torbett pointed out, Burnham has promised to help fight the Manchester area, the Manchester City by-election for a new mayor. Well, that's going to take up, I think, did Matthew say 35 days? That's going to take up well over a month of his time. Perhaps that will be his summer hobby.
And in those 35 days, the Prime Minister can show us what he's really made of and why Labour MPs shouldn't get rid of him. Look, you and I have said for a long time he's dead man walking for a very good reason. He's a dud. He's no good. He's useless, in my view, the Prime Minister. He's got no emotional intelligence. He can't project himself. He can't raise his game. And Burnham is a gifted communicator.
He is. But he will also be hampered by the backbenchers in his own party, who may be even less likely to vote for a Burnham mandate because Burnham did not lead them into the election victory, Starmer did.
And we're just hearing that the Prime Minister has said he will not walk away. I will remind people, when Margaret Thatcher left number 10 Downing Street, having won the first ballot in the 1990 leadership contest, there was to be a second ballot. She said, I fight on, I fight to win. She resigned the next day.
Yeah, people do change their mind in politics. Well, let us know what you think by visiting gbnews.com/yoursay.
First, here's the news with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you from the newsroom at just after 10 o'clock. Well, the top story this morning, Andy Burnham, as we now know, has won the Makerfield by-election, paving the way for him to challenge Sir Keir Starmer for not just the Labour leadership, but possibly the keys for number 10 too.
Andy Burnham, the Labour and Cooperative Party, 24,927.
The former Greater Manchester Mayor secured almost 25,000 votes, giving him a comfortable victory over Reform UK's Robert Kenyon. His return to Westminster, though, has immediately intensified pressure on the Prime Minister, with Burnham's allies saying Labour must now change direction. Sir Keir Starmer earlier congratulated Andy Burnham on social media, saying voters had chosen Labour's hope and optimism over division and hate. But in the last few minutes, we have now heard from Sir Keir Starmer saying he will stand in a Labour leadership contest should one be triggered. That's after Andy Burnham returns to Westminster. Sir Keir Starmer adding in that statement that he will not walk away. Well, Andy Burnham used his victory speech last night to warn Labour that politics isn't working and told MPs there would be no second chance if the party fails to listen this time.
There is a chance now, from this result tonight, to build a new politics based on unity and hope, turning away from the path that takes us to a divided, dark politics of the kind we see in the United States. We must now take this path and put this country back on the right path and bring people back together and get things working properly again.
Meanwhile, in Scotland, the Conservatives have won Aberdeen South in their first Westminster by-election victory in Scotland in more than 50 years. Douglas Lambsden defeated the SNP by more than 6,000 votes, with the Tories taking almost half of all ballots cast. Shortly after, the SNP claimed a victory in Aberystwyth and Broughty Ferry, where Laura Bird held the seat. But the party says it has lessons to learn after losing one and holding another. Well, for more on those Scottish results, our national reporter Will Godley is in Scotland for us.
Here in Aberdeen, the Conservatives have described their victory as seismic. Douglas Lambsden from the Conservative Party got almost 50% of the vote here in Aberdeen South, and the Tories' message this morning is get Britain drilling now. Well, earlier I spoke to Douglas Lambsden after his victory, who said it sends a clear message to Ed Miliband, Keir Starmer and the government over their net zero policy.
Well, let's just turn away from politics for a moment, bring you an update from Cambridgeshire Police. We're hearing in a statement this morning that the man arrested on suspicion of attempted murder after a 3-year-old boy was seriously injured in a crocodile enclosure at a zoo, has been released on bail. Police saying that the 30-year-old was arrested and assessed as not fit for interview and has been bailed until September. The boy involved in the incident remains at Addenbrooke's Hospital in a critical but stable condition following the incident at Johnson's of Old Hurst. Detectives from the Major Crimes Unit are continuing inquiries with specialist officers supporting the child's family. Ministers are being urged to do whatever it takes to settle remaining Horizon compensation claims by the end of this year. Hundreds of sub-postmasters were wrongly convicted after faulty software made it look like money was missing from post office branches. MPs say that complexity can no longer be used as an excuse for the delay, and they're also calling on Fujitsu to make an immediate interim payment towards compensation. In sport, Scotland are chasing back-to-back World Cup wins when they face Morocco in Boston tonight. John Swinney says the victory over Haiti has given the team confidence and momentum, as well as a strong foundation for the rest of the tournament. He admits Morocco will be a tougher test, but has predicted a 2-1 Scotland win. The First Minister also praised the Tartan Army as extraordinary ambassadors after Scottish fans made headlines across the UK. Well, those are the latest headlines for now. Stay with us for more here with Andrew and Miriam.
Has reacted to Andy Burnham's historic win, and it really is historic. Let's listen to what the Prime Minister had to say.
Let me start by saying this was a very good victory in the by-election, and I've sent my congratulations to Andy Burnham, and I repeat them here. And actually my thanks to all of our activists and members who fought so hard over the last few weeks in what turned out to be a real battle of values, Labour values, against divisive reform values and a very divisive candidate. So that is a really, really good outcome. I think it's further evidence, actually, if you look at it in the context of other by-elections, that the tide is turning on reform, that they can't now win by-elections. They've reached probably the peak of their support and it's going down. So very good, congratulations to Andy Burnham, but actually tide is turning on reform as well. So this is really important in that respect.
My question was about whether you phoned him and whether you still plan to take part in the imminent leadership contest, because today we're seeing MPs who were loyal to you now saying your time is up.
Well, I haven't spoken to Andy directly yet, but I will. I have sent my congratulations to him, so we're very clear about that. And it is a really important victory that he's got there. In relation to what happens next, obviously, we had a mandate 2 years ago to carry out change, and we've done incredible things. 2 years ago, people said to me, it's not possible to stabilise the economy and invest in your public services and bring down waiting lists. You're going to have to choose one or the other. We've done both. 2 years ago, people said to me, it's not possible to get migration down from the level that the Tories left it at, which was nearly 1 million. We've brought it down to a fifth of that number. 2 years ago, people said it's not possible to get a much closer, better relationship with the EU, given what's gone on. We've achieved all that. So a huge amount has been achieved. There's more to do, and that's what I'm focusing on. What I was elected to do, which is to serve my country.
You seem to be talking about your legacy, Prime Minister. The vast majority of ministers and backbenchers and special advisers I speak to say in private they think you're finished. Is it time to set out a timetable today?
I think it's really important to put the achievements that we've already achieved into context, because when I talk about stabilising the economy, when I talk about bringing waiting lists down and getting migration down, I'm talking about projects like this. I'm talking about people who need houses, businesses that need to thrive. That's what drives me every day. I was elected here to serve my country with a mandate that we secured at a general election 2 years ago, a very considerable mandate for change. We are carrying out that change. A lot of what we've achieved, people told me wouldn't be possible. If we'd sat here doing this interview at the general election 2024 and you'd put to me, in 2 years' time the economy will be stabilised, in 2 years' time waiting lists will be coming down, in 2 years' time migration will be back under control, in 2 years' time we'd have had the EU in the relationship we've got, and in 2 years' time reform would be on the run and the tide would be turning, I would have said that would be a very good place to be, but that is the place we are in.
So to be clear, I don't understand, are you going to be involved in a leadership contest or not?
Well, there isn't a leadership contest.
But when there is, and it's imminent, Prime Minister,
there
isn't
isn't
it?
one at the moment, but as I've said on many, many occasions, I don't think that's a good thing for the country to plunge us into chaos. I would also add that now that Andy has won, which is really important, really good, he's a huge asset to us, then now will inevitably be a Manchester mayoralty by-election starting straight away. So it's important that we pull together for that. But if there is a contest, just to be clear with you, then yes, I will run, I will stand, and I've said repeatedly, I'm not going to walk away from that.
Prime Minister, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's a defiant Prime Minister. He appears to be doing his Andy Burnham impression. Grey shirt, grey
T-shirt, no
What's
tie.
all that about?
Maybe that's the way to win. He's gotten on.
He told us he was going to go to Makerfield to campaign for Andy Burnham. He didn't. And I'll tell you something else, Olivia. Sorry, Miriam. He did not speak to Andy Burnham once on the phone during the course of that campaign. Not even to wish him luck.
I mean, it's a little bit awkward, isn't it? Josh
Very
Simon's
awkward.
only stepped down in order to allow Andy Burnham back into Parliament in order to challenge Sir Keir Starmer. So it's not a friendship easily made.
Also, really, we should make the point, it's pretty shameful what Labour are doing here. This by-election was triggered for one man's personal ambition to be Prime Minister, Andy Burnham.
But that is how our system works, isn't it? It's what our system allows for, and
they should be careful, Labour, what they wish for, because the Tories got regicide in their nostrils. They got into the habit of deposing leaders, and it's pretty easy to depose a leader who hasn't got a mandate from the public.
And also, without Andy Burnham on the ballot paper for Manchester Mayor, it's going to be very, very difficult for Labour to keep that position. I mean, Reform did far better than Labour in the recent local elections. You would expect, if they choose the right candidate, which is clearly a little bit of an issue for them, if they choose the right candidate, you would expect Reform to win.
Well, I think Burnham would have to camp out in Greater Manchester and fight every day.
Maybe, but if his name's not on the ballot paper, I don't think even if he campaigns that will make much of a difference. But we shall see. We'll all be able to see.
Yeah. Let's go to GB News political correspondent Olivia Utley, who is in Downing Street. Olivia, we know the Prime Minister. He nipped out the back door, didn't he? Was he avoiding your questions?
He nipped out of the... I think he was indeed, did not fancy the glare of the media spotlight this morning. He's now made it clear, the clearest he's made it so far, that he will be fighting in this leadership contest. It often sounds a bit as though Keir Starmer is speaking through gritted teeth. Well, he certainly was this morning. He seems to be a little bit delusional, head in the sand, suggesting that there isn't a leadership election yet. But if there is, I think the question is when there is. Fascinating to hear that he will indeed be standing. That opens Labour up to a brutal civil war. So what happens next? Well, it's a tricky one for Andy Burnham. He has said that he is going to help whoever stands for the Manchester mayoralty. As you suggested there, Miriam, it's going to be really hard for Labour to win that mayoralty, and Andy Burnham will be expected to campaign. That's going to take up quite a lot of time. So does he trigger a contest now, or does he wait for Wes Streeting to do it? I think that's quite a real possibility. Wes Streeting has made no secret of his ambitions. Could Wes Streeting trigger a leadership contest as early as next week? What would happen at that point? Andy Burnham has the 20% of the Labour Party, the 81 MPs it would take to bring him into the leadership contest. It sounds as though Wes Streeting probably does too. As for Keir Starmer, it doesn't matter. The incumbent Prime Minister, the incumbent leader under Labour rules, is automatically granted entry onto that final ballot. So it looks likely that Andy Burnham, Wes Streeting and Keir Starmer will all be presenting themselves to party members, that's people who aren't in Parliament, people who've signed up to be members of the Labour Party. It will be a three-way contest, probably, between those men. That could be brutal and nasty for the Labour Party, and I think we're about to see a lot of splits. The stakes couldn't be higher.
Utley in Downing Street, thank you very much for that report. Well, moving on now, we have some other breaking news. A 30-year-old man from Norfolk has been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder and has been released on bail while detectives conduct further inquiries regarding an incident at Cambridgeshire Zoo yesterday afternoon where a 3-year-old boy was pushed into a crocodile enclosure.
Horrific, isn't it? The man, who is not known to the victim, was assessed as not being fit for interview. The young boy remains in a critical condition. It's a story that's on every front page this morning.
Absolutely
Quite
horrific.
Extraordinary. Now, back to Makerfield. We're joined by Ben Bradley, a former Conservative MP who defected to Reform, and he is head of local government delivery at Reform UK. Ben Bradley, good morning. There's no way of putting a gloss on this. This is a very disappointing result for Reform.
Morning, and yeah, obviously disappointing. I think, as you have just described, a uniquely complicated set of circumstances there in Makerfield. The scenario of vote Labour to stop Labour and remove the Labour Prime Minister is something I've not seen in my lifetime, certainly. So, you know, take that with a pinch of salt. I think it's worth saying the Reform vote increased compared to the general election 2 years ago, and obviously across local elections in Makerfield, where Andy Burnham and the Labour leadership was not on the ballot paper, Reform won very well in that part of the country. What's clear to me, when you look at the Scottish results as well, the fact that across those local elections, Reform have won in Yorkshire, in the North East. You know, we are genuinely, and this proves we are genuinely the only party that can challenge Labour for, you know, a path to a majority in Parliament. And given, as you said, Andrew, you know, these leadership contests very rarely lead you to joy and unity afterwards. That might not be too far away.
No.
Ben, absolutely, there are unique circumstances in Makerfield. Andy Burnham, a very, very popular politician, especially locally. It was clearly a much easier win for him than it would have been for any other Labour politician in the country. But don't really understand this analysis that Reform voters handed their votes to Labour because they dislike Starmer. I mean, we understand that Reform voters dislike Starmer, but if you want a Reform government, then electing Andy Burnham, who is undoubtedly going to make the Labour Party more popular, doesn't seem a very sensible move.
Well, I wouldn't suggest that Reform voters lent their votes there. But when
well, that's exactly what Richard Tice said on this programme this morning. That's exactly what Richard Tice said to us this morning on GB News Breakfast.
When you look at those numbers that are on the screen there, I mean, clearly the three other, we might describe as main parties, Lib Dems, Green, Conservative, got 3.5% between them. There's a huge tactical aspect to that. And people, you know, and we've seen it, haven't we? People trying to stop reform, which is why it is all the more important, I think, that those on the right of politics, or those who want to see anything other than a Labour government at the next general election, recognise that it is only reform that is challenging Labour in these areas. It's only reform
but I suppose the point is, Ben, if
in Essex and Suffolk and
if with
places
all
like
that tactical voting, the maximum that Reform can achieve in a seat that was, I think, your 6th best second place at the general election, if that's the maximum that you can achieve is 34% in that constituency, that does not bode well.
I don't think it is. I think when you look at, as I say, the circumstances of this particular election and the fact that it is, is so battled for the Prime Minister as well as it is for the kind of local aspects and the more broad political contest across the country, it's not a normal set of election results. And what we've seen more consistently across every poll, 300 odd polls across the local elections we've had recently, is that Reform is the only party that is challenging. Now, if this was a contest where Andy Burnham was not the candidate and this national leadership contest was not a factor, I think we'd probably have seen a slightly different outcome, but it is what it is. Not going to read too much into it. But as you go, as I say, across the country, in order to form a government, you've got to be able to win support anywhere. And there's only Reform doing that, with the main opposition in Scotland, the main opposition in Wales. We're winning in Labour heartlands and contesting even in these circumstances. We're beating the Tories in Essex and Suffolk and their heartlands. Somebody's got to be able to make that challenge, right? And nobody else is in the picture at the minute.
Can I just ask you though, Ben, you have lost the last 3 by-elections.
Yes, inevitably. Politicians inevitably, and you have heard this a million times after by-elections where you don't win, inevitably say they're very challenging and special circumstances in all these by-elections, of course. This one clearly is unique for all sorts of reasons. But it's not just about individual parliamentary elections, is it? There is a general theme, as I said, 300 plus polls in a row, even polls that have come out today with that Westminster projection saying Reform far and away the largest party in a general election if held today. There are all sorts of questions to ask about what happens next. A messy Labour leadership contest, no doubt. Who knows where Andy Burnham, if he's successful, leads the Labour Party. But Reform continue to challenge, as I say, in a way that nobody else is able to do. We need to recognise, both on the right of politics and across the spectrum, what the impact of these results is in terms of splitting votes and tactical votes and all those other things. And there's a lot of work to do to make a case as to how we manage that effectively, and we chart that path to get Nigel Farage into number 10. But the only people who can do that at the minute, even on the basis of these results, it's Labour or Reform, isn't it?
All right, well, that's a more upbeat than I expected. Ben Bradley, who is the head of local government delivery at Reform UK and former Tory MP. But it is 3 by-elections in a row. They lost in Wales, what was it, Caerphilly and Ghent, Denton and Gorton, and now this one. And there's tactical voting is really hurting
it is,
Reform.
absolutely.
It really is. And Restore getting 7% of the vote. Yeah. It wouldn't make any difference to the result, but if they get 7% in every constituency,
that could make a difference.
That could make a huge difference.
And in Essex,
they've got to sort it out, the right.
Yeah, in Essex there were 2 local council by-elections last night, both of which went back to the Conservatives from Reform on really big swings. So it's really difficult to understand the overall picture and what a Burnham Prime Minister might do as well to the polls across the country.
What we do know is he's going to be a lot more left-wing than the one we've got, because he's a massive champion of state intervention.
That's true.
Massive champion of state intervention. And he's also a master of U-turns.
Well, coming up next, the King of the North will head south as he returns to Westminster, but the Prime Minister says he isn't going anywhere.
We're going to go through that and more with our panel today, who are Emma Trimble and Judita De Silva. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. There they are.
There we go.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, Parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. 5 hosts,
5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored. Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News,
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
Oh, no, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. It's 26 minutes past 10.
We've got our panel, Emma Trimble and Judita De Silva, with us this morning.
Well, shall we start, ladies, with the by-election? I mean, Judita, massive win for Andy Burnham. I think yesterday, over the last week, most people have assumed that Burnham was going to win, but a significant margin.
Yes, and I think that it's kind of indicative of a number of things, because first of all, the whole conversation about Reform UK pretty much is rent-free in the minds of the Labour Party. What they've shown is that it's always been a conversation that's bubbling, that people who are leaning towards reform and used to vote Tory or Labour, they're not voting for reform, they're just voting against Tory or Labour. But if you presented someone that actually spoke to them in a way that resonated with them, they'd revert back, because they're not voting along party loyalty lines, they're voting along best for Britain lines. If you are someone they feel is best for Britain, they will vote for you. So what he now presents himself as, which is very compelling to within the Labour Party when he does push for leadership, is that I'm the person who can bring those voters back. So we need not fear reform. What you have is swing voters. And I am compelling enough to bring swing voters swinging in our direction, which is very useful for the party.
But, you know, Emma, it's still, despite a massive victory for Labour in that seat, the vote is still, Labour's vote is in historic decline in the North. I checked, in 1997, when Blair won the landslide, the Labour candidate in Makerfield got 74% of the vote. Burnham won yesterday with 55%. So that's 20% down in a by-election, which is unprecedented.
Yeah, I don't think you can understate the degree to which this is a protest against Keir Starmer.
It's a one-off, isn't it?
People across the political spectrum are very unhappy about the situation with the current government and what Keir Starmer has done to this country. And I think that is one thing that is giving Andy Burnham a boost. But what's interesting about this, obviously people are interested in whether or not this will translate to the, nationally. If he were leader, could he win the next general election? At the moment, he's in the position of almost the underdog. He's in the kind of subversive position, which I think in our politics at the moment, we've seen this with the Greens in Gorton and Denton. We're also seeing it with Reform, that people are swinging their vote towards those insurgent parties. And Andy Burnham was almost a microcosm of that within the Labour Party. But if he were to be Labour leader, then he would have lost that sheen. And I think what's also interesting, I mean, there are so many interesting aspects to this. Reform didn't lose by the same amount that Restore stole from them. No. And also the Conservatives got less than 1,000 votes. Yeah. So Reform very firmly are essentially the new establishment, quote, Conservative party. But this is difficult for Reform because this is exactly the sort of seat demographically that Reform would hope that they would be able to win.
If they had this at the general election, it was their 6th highest vote. They got a higher vote there than in one of the seats where they actually got an MP.
They've increased the number of votes they got by about 2,000 votes, and I think they probably would have wanted it to be more than that.
Yeah. Well, Farage said that as much this morning on his X account, that he was expecting 2,000 or 3,000 votes more. But of course, there was one reason that Reform didn't win, which was Andy Burnham. He's a very popular man locally. He has been a popular man nationally. Of course, that may change if he becomes Prime Minister and has to deal with all the problems that Prime Ministers have to deal with. But do you think he could be enough to turn Labour's fortunes around?
That's the point where I'm still clutching my pearls and waiting to see, because when the voters were talking about it, they said, oh, he's a local guy. I've played football with him at the local football club. That neighbourliness, that affinity they have with one of their own really translated. But again, on the national level, they don't have that connection to you. It's all going to be a meritocracy to an extent. But like you said, every problem that Keir Starmer has right now will be laid at your doorstep as leader. The buck will stop with you. All the blame will fall on you. So while you've got the luster of being more popular than him, more formidable than him, more of a leader, having more of a sheen of a leader than him, you're still going to have the same problems.
That's right. I mean, we're in huge debt. Migration is a huge problem. Illegal migration has not been solved.
And you know, we have to remember the role of mayor of somewhere like Manchester is not really a political role. He's a ribbon cutter. Of course he's popular. There are very few things that you can very obviously get wrong and upset people in a position like that. And so he has the benefit of that too. And he is popular, but he hasn't proven himself, you know, politically. And especially if all of this talk of, you know, maybe he would make Ed Miliband his chancellor, he would take the country further to the left. It would be absolutely devastating. And by the time we get to the next general election, if, say, Andy Burnham becomes the leader of the Labour Party by the end of the year or the beginning of next year, and even by then the sheen might have worn off by the time he gets to actually any kind of leadership election. But by the time we get to the next general election, I think, you know, the writing will be on the wall. It will have taken the destruction of Keir Starmer's premiership and entrenched it and made it even worse.
And Labour needs to be very careful, because the broader conversation, which I think also leans into why Keir Starmer's being so stubborn, is something began with what the Tories did. There is something to be said about the integrity and sanctity of a democratic vote. If the people choose, the people choose. Sometimes you choose the wrong person. Sometimes you get a good person who turns bad, someone you get a bad person who works out well. But the vote is the vote. Once you take away the integrity of that, you're going to start the degeneration process to a point where people don't care about the vote, because once we get the party into government, they'll swap around as they see fit.
That's a very good point.
So Labour needs to know that if you do this, because, like you're saying, the people who vote Labour feel that you're listening to them by, say, hearing Keir Starmer doesn't work. We need someone new, and we seem to believe in Andy Burnham. Once you've got Andy, you stick with him. Whatever happens, you stick with him, because you have to preserve that feeling that people know when I vote, the power I have in my vote is something that is sacred and will be respected no matter the consequence.
That hasn't happened so much in recent years, unfortunately, has it? Well, Judita, Emma, thank you so much. We'll see you in an hour.
Let's get our 60-second news update now with Sam Francis.
Very good morning, 10:30. The top story this morning. Andy Burnham has won the Makerfield by-election with almost 25,000 votes. That's more than Reform UK, Restore Britain and the Conservatives combined. In his victory speech, he said Labour must listen to the voters' calls for change.
There is a chance now, from this result tonight, to build a new politics based on unity and hope.
Keir Starmer congratulated the now former Manchester mayor this morning, claiming voters had chosen Labour's hope and optimism over division and hate. But the Prime Minister insists he will stand his ground if Andy Burnham's return to Westminster triggers a possible Labour leadership contest.
There is a chance now, from this result tonight, to build a new politics based on unity and hope.
Meanwhile, in Scotland, the Conservatives have taken Aberdeen South in one of two by-elections held north of the border. The SNP held Aberrath and Broughty Ferry in contest triggered after the two previous MPs were elected to Holyrood. In other news, Cambridgeshire police say a man arrested after a 3-year-old boy was allegedly thrown into a crocodile enclosure is not fit to be interviewed by officers. The 30-year-old, who is understood to have been on a day trip with his carer, has been bailed until September after being arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. The boy remains in critical condition but was not injured by the crocodiles. And Scotland are chasing back-to-back World Cup wins when they face Morocco in Boston tonight after their historic 1-0 victory over Haiti. First Minister John Swinney says that the side have the verve, the energy and ability to go again. Those are the latest headlines for now. More news in half an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
You may think his days are numbered in number 10, but Keir Starmer says absolutely not. He's fighting on, and if there's a leadership contest, he will be on the ballot paper. We'll have the very latest on the crisis that's engulfing number 10. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A hot one for some today across southern and eastern parts of England, but further west and further north, very different feel. Dull and damp outbreaks of rain across Northern Ireland and western Scotland this morning. Some heavy bursts of rain too. That rain creeping towards the west coast of Wales, and we'll see things turning a bit damp over northwest England too. But for a good part of East Wales, central England, eastern England, it's dry and it's sunny and it's going to get pretty hot by this afternoon. Already quite warm and humid out there. We could see highs of 30, 31 degrees across East Anglia and the southeast. Temperatures further west in the low 20s, only high teens with this rain across Scotland and Northern Ireland. Potential for some thunderstorms, particularly in Northern Ireland during the afternoon, and eventually the cloud and rain will be creeping its way into Devon, Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. But as I said, much of central and eastern England stays dry and fine. There's that rainy zone getting into northwest England, across North Wales, some heavy bursts of rain mixed in, the potential for some thunderstorms scooting away from Northern Ireland this evening, and things turning a bit brighter to end the day over northwest Scotland. Not just brighter, but also a little bit fresher here as well. We won't have the humidity as high here as it will be elsewhere. The cloud and the rain continue to edge in across northern England, a little bit of it getting into southern parts of Wales and the Midlands, and then another pulse of showery rain. Again, some of it heavy comes in through the night for Northern Ireland and Scotland. A warm, humid, uncomfortable night tonight. Temperatures in the south and towns and cities holding up in the high teens in places. So a wet start to the weekend then for central and eastern Scotland, but that showery rain should scoot away. Quite cloudy for many to begin with tomorrow, but I think the cloud will tend to break up. In many places we'll see some sunny spells, a few showers always threatening to come in across the highlands, but otherwise turning a lot drier and a lot brighter. Sunny spells for many through the afternoon. Not as hot as today across the east, but still temperatures getting into the high 20s. Higher still on Sunday.
Thank you, Britain, for all of you who listen to GB News Radio.
Whether you're at home or on the go, you're making us Britain's news channel and Britain's radio station.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Traffic is heavy on the M6 northbound between junctions 8 and 10 in Walsall, with a 30-minute delay expected. The M6 southbound exit slip at junction 19 to the A556 is also congested, but expected to clear soon. The A27 westbound between the A2559 Havant and the A30223 is seeing a 10-minute delay. In Cornwall, the A30 westbound near the A388 at Launceston East has one lane closed due to a broken down vehicle. And on the trains, there is major disruption between Preston and Wigan Northwestern on Avanti West Coast and Northern services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. It is 22 minutes to 11 and some breaking news. A 3-year-old boy from Cambridgeshire remains in Addenbrooke's Hospital in a critical but stable condition following an incident at Johnson's of Oldhurst Zoo yesterday.
A 30-year-old man arrested on suspicion of attempted murder has been released on bail after being assessed as not being fit for interview. It's now being reported that the suspect has learning difficulties and was with a carer when the boy was thrown into the enclosure. That's all according to sources who've spoken to the Sun newspaper.
Well, we're joined now by GB News' national reporter, Jack Carson. He is live from Makerfield. But, Jack, do tell us more.
Yeah, well, here, of course, you know, the people that I've been speaking to this morning see this as a massive victory for the local area. Certainly, the people that I've been speaking to on the high street in the early hours, though, saying that there's a lot of pressure now on their new MP, Andy Burnham, to be able, you know, to create the change, to make the change that, of course, that he set about saying in his winning speech, of course, as he won in the early hours. Behind me is the Stubshaw Cross Community Centre. This is essentially where Andy Burnham's campaign has been based. This is where he had his victory pint in the early hours of the morning, as of course as he stormed to victory, winning by more than 9,000 votes, 10% of the vote share, more than half. Certainly the brand of him as Andy Burnham from his mayoralty in Greater Manchester and him, you know, of course, in being the former MP of neighbouring constituencies like Lee, his name recognition here is almost bigger than what the Labour Party feels like, and certainly when they are running so low in the polls, you look at the candidate selection, and Andy Burnham being the Labour candidate, really you look at as being the reason why so many people felt like they could trust their vote in him. And so interestingly, in the by-election, that there was a higher turnout for the by-election than there was in the general election in 2024. We've been speaking to people, as I say, in Makerfield and Ashton in Makerfield this morning. Take a listen to what they told us. I think he should challenge Keir Starmer for the Labour leadership.
I'm not sure about that, but if he does, I'll be made up for him if he gets it. But I like Keir as well.
Do you worry that he's going to abandon this constituency to go down to Westminster and try and become the Prime Minister?
No, I don't think he would. Hopefully he wouldn't, because you have to look at the bigger picture. If he gets Prime Minister, he might do more for Action. You don't know. But I don't get Keir Starmer. I don't get him at all. He's no personality. He's nothing to me. He's just.
I don't think Starmer's the right man.
Why? What is it about him?
He's no talent for the job. He's a nice man, I think. I don't dislike him as a person, but I don't think he's right for the job.
As you heard from those people there, I really do think the word pressure is really the word to describe it, because, you know, Andy Burnham saying in his winning speech, this is essentially the final chance to be able to create change. When I was here a few weeks ago in the middle of that by-election campaign, asking people what the issues were, that three came up really: cost of living, immigration, and trust in politicians. Of course, we all know that trust in politicians has been, you know, decreasing over the past few years, but I wasn't necessarily expecting it to come up so prevalently when I was here a few weeks ago in the middle of the campaign. And so, you know, people have put their trust in Labour once again in this area, particularly putting their trust in Andy Burnham, many of them assuming that he will go for that leadership challenge against Keir Starmer and hoping that he can deliver the change that he's promised to them over the past few weeks.
All right, Jack, that's Jack Carson. Jack, and I think behind you is the Working Man's Club where Burnham ran his campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you can see, all the cars around us is because there's a lot of people inside that are you'd think getting ready to celebrate what a successful campaign it's been. This is where essentially the headquarters for his campaign has been. It's where he came after winning that by-election for a drink, for a pint. Of course, videos of that have gone all across social media into this morning as he delivered a speech to the supporters that had gathered. So he's not too far away, we believe, from here at the moment, ready to deliver his kind of rallying, kind of campaign winning speech. But yeah, this is the headquarters behind me, where so much of this campaign has been based just outside Ashton in Makerfield.
And Jack, we understand that any moment now Andy Burnham is going to make a speech. We'll be covering that. But when you've been talking to people out and about this morning, we heard from one of the people that you interviewed that they weren't sure about whether or not Burnham should challenge Starmer for the leadership. But surely the whole point of this campaign, the whole point of the by-election, is to get Starmer into number 10. I mean, voters, I assume, must realise that, and yet they still voted for him with mixed feelings, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that of course, Reform UK have said this morning, that essentially people were voting for Andy Burnham to try and get Starmer out. That was of course, their election campaign in the local elections and councils across the country in May. So I think there has certainly been people here have felt the weight of what their vote was going to mean. A lot of people understand that I spoke to in the run-up to the election, but also this morning, that it does mean that possibly there is a chance that Makerfield could be put to the back foot while Andy Burnham challenges the leadership and spends more time down in Westminster. They're hoping that his influence and being the local MP here mean that naturally there will be change and a more focus on areas like this. So areas like this do see improvements. There's mass regeneration going on in Ashton, in Makerfield, certainly in that town centre, to make it look nicer, to try and regenerate the high street. Locals will be hoping that a vote for them, for Andy Burnham as their MP, will mean that their issues and what is important to them has a bigger issue down, as a bigger importance down in Westminster. But I think certainly they're under no illusion that it could mean that them as him as a constituency MP certainly takes a back foot in the kind of coming weeks and months and possibly years to come. But I think, as you saw from the turnout, they still feel like they just don't really get Keir Starmer. They don't really understand him as a personality, as a Prime Minister, as a politician. And Andy Burnham, with such an influence locally, they just feel like they can connect with him more. And so by voting for him, they just hope, I think, that challenge does come in from Andy Burnham. But I'm sure we'll hear more about that in the coming hours, even to come.
And of course, there's the big issue as well, Jack, is what Burnham does about the Greater Manchester mayoralty. He has to stand down as Greater Manchester mayor. He can't do both jobs. The law says the election has to be held within 35 days, I think, of the resignation. So does he fight like Billy O to seek to save the mayoralty, or is he going to be fighting Starmer for the premiership straight away? Big judgment call for Burnham.
Massive judgment calls, because of course, we've already heard from Reform UK this morning. They're going to put everything in to trying to flip that Greater Manchester mayoralty to Reform. We know in the Greater Manchester area in the local elections they did incredibly well. That's why they were tipped to do so well here and coming a strong second here in Makerfield. It's why, because this area is one of the areas they did so well in the local election. So it wasn't long ago that people here in a more local sense were voting for Reform. So Andy Burnham has got a decision to make as to how he fights that, of course, by-election for the mayoralty.
OK, that's Jack Carson outside the campaign HQ. We're going to go and listen now to Lou Haig, who's a Labour MP who was a key figure in the Burnham campaign. In fact, Andy Burnham is just arriving, so I think we can listen to the new MP for Makerfield.
Well, of course, Louise Haig was the Transport Secretary. She was forced to resign over a scandal. It looked like she'd been falsely reported a stolen phone. So she's been on the backbenches for quite some time now. But yes, as you said, a key ally of Andy Burnham, and some Labour-leaning newspapers writing up that she was actually key to his policy announcements during the campaign.
So Andy Burnham's arrived with his wife. He is, if you're listening on the radio, he's not in his trademark black T-shirt. He's in jeans and a white T-shirt. This is all very carefully choreographed.
I'm sure it is.
Miriam. So here's Andy Burnham. Let's have a listen to him.
And what a campaign. Thank you all so much. The first thank you I've got to do is to the people of this wonderful area who've looked after us so well. Stubshire Cross Community Club, everybody.
Go on, Adam.
And how about Ashton Town FC? I did score 2 down here the other night. Thought I'd better mention that. They've hosted us as well. What we're going to miss Galloway's, aren't we? Some of you are anyway, so thanks to Galloway's. I could keep going on. But the thing is, the people here obviously have put up with a lot of inconvenience over the last 5 weeks, but they've done it with incredible patience and good humour, because that's how people here are. That's the kind of the character of the people and the place, and it really came through in the by-election. So just huge thanks from us all to the people of all the proud places of the Makerfield constituency. Really, everything that you're about came through, and we all owe you a huge debt of thanks. I want to thank as well, I think you've just heard from them, it's always the candidate likes to think that they win a campaign, but it's never the case. It's always the people who are really calling the shots. And I've got to kind of say today that this campaign was won by a band of strong Northern power women. I wouldn't mess with them. And I suggest that you don't either. But Lou, Annalise, honestly, you've been immense. I could go through everybody. Grace, I'm going to shout you out as well. You've been absolutely brilliant. There's too many more to mention. But honestly, what a campaign they've led, and I'm so grateful to them. You will all know, if you go back to May, this part of the world, people here issued quite a clear call for change. In fact, I would say it was more an instruction that things had to change. And somebody right here behind me understood how serious that call was. And I'm talking about Josh Simon. So it's something that I want to say, Josh, to you today. Such was the power of what people said in early May. You realised that this wasn't and couldn't be business as usual. It needed a response. It needed a profound response. And you did something incredibly selfless in stepping forward, working with me to see how we did respond to what people said. It is a significant sacrifice that you, Leah, who is somewhere, I think, behind. Over there, wherever you're there, Leah, and the family made. But I know you did it for all of the right reasons, and I think it's important this morning for me to put those reasons on the record and to thank you both, your family, publicly for what you did, because it does now open up the space for the real change that the people of this constituency deserve. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Leah. So what is that change? I did talk about the need to change Labour in this campaign, and we've got to now take this moment to answer the challenges that have been laid down. I did describe it last night as a last chance to change, and I think that's how people here kind of saw it when I was talking to them on the doorsteps, and they said, well, Andy, maybe we can give you our support this time, but you know it's not a blank cheque, it's not ongoing. You have to respond to what people here are saying. You have to do something to make life more affordable, to put more money in people's pockets, to give people more breathing space again so that they can have a better life. That's what people were saying, and we must respond to that. We need an economy that works for everybody, not a few in far off places from here, but an economy that works for people right here. We do need to bring down water bills, energy bills, rail fares, just as we've brought down bus fares in Greater Manchester to make life more affordable for people. We do need an end to trickle-down economics, which didn't trickle down very much at all to places like this. We want to see a new drive of reindustrialisation across the north of England and indeed the rest of the country, and big change in Whitehall if that is to happen. And I'm talking about public procurement. It's about time we started backing British business and British industry so that we can reindustrialise places like this. And yes, let's change the education system so that young people growing up here have clear paths into that new industry. No more an education system dominated by the university route, but an education system that offers a path for everybody, academic and technical, in equal balance. That's what we need if we are to change this. And when I say change to public procurement, as a result of using the power of it, get more work placements for people, a guarantee of a work placement for every 16 to 18-year-old who wants one, the guarantee of an apprenticeship. These are the kind of changes that we need if we are to give hope to young people growing up in this part of the world. And yet, a change too from the Home Office. I heard on so many doorsteps people's concerns about the unfairness of the immigration system, that cut price approach to procurement that means areas like this can end up like HMO Britain. It's not fair that they think that they can just operate like that and not hear the call of people here, the decent people here, who always will do the right thing, the compassionate thing, but not when it's unfair in terms of the way places like this are treated. These are the calls that we've got to hear, and this is the change that we've got to bring. And I say it again, it is our last chance to change, but we're going to take it, aren't we? We are going to take that opportunity, and we are going to lay out a new path for Britain. The one thing, the best thing that we can say about last night is that there was a risk, if you like, that we would carry on seeing Britain and the politics of our country go down a path towards greater darkness and division, and ending up somewhere like the United States of America, where people don't talk to each other in the street if they vote different ways or in their workplace. We will not let that happen here. We will bring people back together. I said last night, I will be a Member of Parliament for everybody, however they voted. I will work on a place first, not a party first basis, respecting how people voted. I know people who normally vote for the Conservatives, the Liberal Democrats, the Greens, perhaps voted Reform in May. I know they gave me their votes to give me that last chance to do something, and I respect them for doing that, and I will always then work in the way that shows how much I value what they did. And that's the kind of change we need to, a change in our politics to make it work again for people. You know, I did say it last night and I mean it. The word Makerfield in the future must be known as a byword for the change that came to British politics. This is the moment. We've been on a path for 40 years that simply hasn't worked for people and places in this part of the world, and this now is the change moment. We have an opportunity to turn the tide, to make the country feel like it's working again, to make people see that politics can make a positive difference, to make people feel hope again. That is the main thing I think we need in this country right now, for people to feel a sense of hope, that there is something better to work towards on the horizon. This election result has opened up the possibility that we can now move forward together towards that future. And that's what I'm going to do. I will work relentlessly to make what the people have voted for here happen. And we will do that together, won't we? We will take the energy of this campaign and we will bring it forward into changing British politics for the better, and to make this part of the world, if you like, the test, the Makerfield test at the heart of British politics. When policies come forward, if they don't work for people here, for the places of this constituency, if they don't lift people up, then they shouldn't happen at all. We've not had a country run on that basis before. Places like this have often been an afterthought. Westminster has looked past the communities of this constituency. Well, no more. That changes today. I'm just going to finish by thanking you all again, for thanking our friends in the media who've given incredible coverage to our wonderful part of the world, who've allowed the characters of this part of the world. I'm thinking of the Question Time audience and others who really shone through. But I'm going to come back to really what this is all about, the people. The wonderful thing about this by-election, and obviously it came about in very challenging circumstances, but the wonderful thing about this by-election is, for the first time in our lifetimes, it put power where it should be, in the hands of people here. They were the ones who had that power, and they have used it, and they have told us what they want. Now we will deliver it. Thank you very much, everybody.
not too triumphalist, I don't think, Miriam, but look, he's an easygoing, relaxed speaker, isn't he, Miriam? The contrast with him and Keir Starmer, who's more wooden than the Forest of Dean, frankly.
He's a natural speaker. And
he is.
Whether or not you have any confidence that he will turn the country around in a way that Starmer has been unable to, he's certainly going to be a lot more popular with Labour MPs, I would think.
Yeah, he will be, and he's instinctively more left-wing too. I suspect, I still don't think there'll be any major movement from him towards number 10 next week. Do you think there will be?
Well, I thought that he might move quickly, but actually after we spoke to Matthew Talbot and I realised what was involved in the by-election for the Manchester mayoralty...
which is going to be quick.
It is. Then I think he'll have to put his effort into that, otherwise he will seem as though he's abandoning the North, won't he?
And if they lost it, he'd get the blame. And that would be a terrible way to start his premiership, or it would damage his leadership campaign. And I suspect a lot of Labour MPs are going to say, you can wait 3 weeks, Andy.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I think they're going to struggle to win it. I really do, because he has won this by-election. That is a one-off. He's a popular, charismatic politician, but Reform is still ahead in the polls, and I think that will show up.
And his name will be on the ballot paper in the mayor election. It's Friday... What's the time? It's 10:59. It's Friday, 19th of June.
Well, the main news this morning, Andy Burnham has comfortably won the Makerfield by-election with 55% of the vote, a majority of over 9,000, and the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, says he won't back down in the battle for number 10.
And the fight on the right. Reform comes second, but Restore Britain, which is run by Rupert Lowe, a former Reform MP, polled 7% of the vote. But their combined votes still wouldn't have beaten Burnham. Richard Tice, the Deputy Leader of Reform, spoke to GB News a little bit earlier.
We had a number of Reform voters, specifically tactically on this occasion, voted Burnham to guarantee to remove the most unpopular Prime Minister in living memory.
Well, the Reform UK leader, Nigel Farage, has admitted that the result was disappointing for his party.
I'm disappointed by that, no question about it.
And in Scotland, Aberdeen South has turned blue with a Conservative win, their first by-election victory in Scotland in over 50 years. Douglas Lumsden celebrates.
And to my friends, supporters and volunteers, we did it.
And the SNP held on to Arbroath and Broughty Ferry. Lara Bird was elected for the Scottish Nationalists.
We had a really good campaign. I spent a lot of time out on the doors listening to folk, and I'm really happy with the result.
Hello, welcome to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, a huge day in politics, and who better to discuss it with than the doyen of pollsters, that is Sir John Curtis. Sir John, good morning to you. We said this would be potentially the most significant by-election in 50-odd years. I think it really is.
Well, it certainly will be if eventually Mr Burnham displaces Sir Keir Starmer as Prime Minister. That, of course, is the second half of the story on which we now embark. And although I frankly think it's going to be difficult for Sir Keir to survive, even if he does stand, that part of the drama has yet to play out. But sure, it's certainly indicated that perhaps Andy Burnham has an ability to raise Labour's support so that it is potentially more competitive with reform than has hitherto been the case. And that may happen even if support for reform remains roughly what it is. But one of the things we should be remembering is although reform has been ahead in the polls now for over 12 months, they're only running at 27%. It looks such a good number because they're still 7 points ahead of Labour. But if Labour can start raising their support a bit, even if it's only by squeezing the Greens, that potentially makes reform's life more difficult.
And, Sir John, it's quite clear tactical voting is a big issue now. It was for the Tories when tactical voting against them. This is clearly a lot of tactical voting against reform because this is the third by-election in a row they've lost, and they would have certainly expected to do a lot better in Makerfield.
Yes, and I think one has to acknowledge that there clearly is a quite considerable antipathy towards reform amongst those who are not attracted by its message on Brexit, its message on immigration, its message on equalities policies. And there is a feeling, rightly or wrongly, amongst some people who are not persuaded of that view, that to some degree it's something they don't wish to see represented in British politics. Now, we can argue the legitimacy of that, but at the end of the day, voters are kings. Now, of course, that said, of course, it's also true in this instance, as it was in Caerphilly, that as it was in Gorton Denton, became very clear to voters who was Reform's principal competitor. That will not always be true. And of course, it's still also true that the ability of Andy Burnham to mop up some of the anti-reform vote is also potentially a function also of the fact that he also personally is relatively popular, even amongst some people who are not necessarily Labour supporters.
John, let's talk about what this all means for the Conservative Party. Obviously, they did terribly in the local elections. They had a few isolated wins, but there were local reasons for that. They've had this astonishing win in Scotland yesterday, their first in a by-election in 60 years. And yet, in Makerfield, they lost their deposit with fewer than 1,000 votes, whereas in 2019, just 6 years ago, they got 14,000 votes there. As a national force, do you think the Conservative Party is over?
Oh, I think it's far too early to say that, Miriam. I think the point about Aberdeen South is this: is that what's interesting about? I mean, this is frankly as spectacular a result as that achieved by Andy Burnham. There were no signs in the Scottish Parliament elections last month of the Conservatives doing particularly well in Aberdeen. The 25-point increase in Conservative support is even bigger than the 23-point increase that Boris Johnson got in Hartlepool in May 2021, and I think it's the biggest increase in Conservative support, except in the odd occasion where, for example, in Southend West, Labour Party didn't put up a candidate because it was in the wake of the death of David Amess. So this was a truly spectacular result. And what was it done on the back of? Well, it was done essentially on the back of a focus on opposition to Labour and SNP's reluctance to facilitate further exploration and indeed perhaps exploitation of oil and gas in the North Sea. That, of course, has particular resonance in Aberdeen. But I think the more general lesson that the Conservative Party might want to take away from it is that if it indeed can find economic policies and economic stances that begin to address the concerns that voters have, and we still have many voters across the United Kingdom who have economic worries, economic concerns, economically dissatisfied. If they can craft an economic message that begins to appeal to the electorate, which obviously have to be much more generic than the one about oil and gas in Aberdeen, there is still a potential for the party to be able to raise its support.
Sir John, we just need to pause you there, Sir John, just for a second.
More competitive with reform.
Stay with us, Sir John, just for a second, because we've just got to go back to Makerfield. Christopher Hope is with us, our political editor. Christopher, you've got a very happy Louise Haigh with you.
Who ran the campaign. Yeah, indeed. I'm joined now by Louise Haigh, who helped run Andy Burnham's campaign. Louise Haigh, what is the Makerfield test?
The Makerfield test is if it doesn't work for Makerfield and communities like it, then it shouldn't be done. With policy should be set in the centre and locally here, regionally here, that make sense for the people of Makerfield. And Andy's message throughout this campaign is that communities like this have been ignored for too long. He wants to change the way we do politics in Westminster in order to change the way the country is run.
He's going back, though. Will he be running for leader?
He's been very clear that if there is a contest, he will enter it, and we really hope that Keir Starmer reflects on the results of this, the resounding message that has come from the people of Makerfield. Think deeply about what's in the best interests of the country and of the party.
Has he got the support already on the backbenches? 81 MPs to stand now.
Andy Burnham has proven time and time again he has the support in the PLP, in the membership, and quite clearly in the country as well.
Has he spoken yet to the Prime Minister?
Not so far.
but over this weekend?
He absolutely hopes to speak to Keir Starmer over the coming days, and so that we can agree a respectful and managed and orderly way that keeps the government serving the interests of the people, but make sure that we can get through this and have the best possible chance of putting the government back in the interest of the country and the best possible shot of winning the next general election.
Why hasn't Sir Keir Starmer done this then? Why is Andy Burnham the right person?
Andy Burnham, as the people of Makerfield have just shown, is the best possible way of representing hope and optimism to the country and of defeating reform. Just 6 weeks ago, half of the people in this constituency voted for reform, and last night Andy won nearly 55% of the vote, a resounding victory, and I think the message is very clear from the people of Makerfield.
And a blow for Reform UK and Nigel Farage is quite despondent this morning. Is this the start of Labour's fight back against reform?
Absolutely. Last night Andy Burnham showed just how we can stem the tide on reform, and I think the people of Makerfield, who just 6 weeks ago voted in enormous numbers for them, have shown that actually they don't want reform, they want a changed Labour, they want some hope and optimism, and I do think that last night could actually be the beginning of the end for Nigel Farage and his divisive politics in this country.
Before you go, that line about HMO Britain would have struck a real chord with our viewers and listeners.
Yeah.
What did he mean by that?
Well, look, communities like this across the North East and the North West have seen too long people moved here because they have cheap housing, whether it be asylum seekers or children in care, very, very vulnerable people, all put into the same places because it's cheap housing. Andy has been really clear we need to turn the tide on things like this, and that's exactly what the Makerfield test will mean in practice.
And what's your message to Nigel Farage right now from GB News? What's your message to him?
Well, Nigel Farage should think very carefully as well about the results last night and realise that his politics of division and whipping up tension on the streets are not what people want. They want to see that politics can be done differently. They want to see some hope for the future, and the changed politics that Andy has put on the ballot paper has been welcomed with open arms by the people of Makerfield.
Before you go, we could see a leadership challenge next week from Andy Burnham.
No, Andy has been very clear that he wants this to be done in a very orderly, respectful way, and he'll hope to speak to Keir in the coming days.
Thank you, Louise Haigh.
Just one quick
Andrew and Miriam, that's Louise Haigh, of course, the absolute key person behind the whole Andy Burnham campaign, making clear to us live on GB News that a challenge is coming. It's up to Keir Starmer to reflect on the result, and it sounds like set out a campaign, an orderly transition of power to the new MP for Makerfield. And fascinating to hear that Makerfield test. Forget Manchesterism, whatever that was or is. The Makerfield test now, spending money locally, helping local people. HMO Britain stood out to me as a really interesting and I think a potent slogan for this new Andy Burnham campaign to take over number 10.
Christopher Hope, thank you very much. Well, I think we still have Sir John Curtis with us. John, you would have been listening to what Chris said there. He was with Louise Haigh. Clearly, Andy Burnham supporters hoping for an Andy Burnham premiership as soon as possible. We've talked about the polling. Potentially, Andy Burnham could give Labour a bounce of, I think, between 4 and 7% in the polls. That's what the data seems to be showing.
Something like that, yeah, sure.
Do you think he will go to the country? Do you think he will call an election to try and get a new mandate?
I would be very, very surprised. I always think there's a basic calculation, and it was at this point in the Parliament, it was a basic calculation that a lot of people missed when Gordon Brown allowed speculation to be fueled about whether or not he would call a general election or becoming Prime Minister. At the moment, if indeed somebody succeeds to Keir Starmer, they can look forward to 3 years in Downing Street. That is what they would be putting at risk in going to the country. What do they gain? 2 years. It's a bad deal. Until you're at least halfway through the Parliament, going early always strikes me as an unnecessary risk. It was one, of course, that Theresa May took, and it didn't do her any good. It simply helped to undermine her premiership rather than reinforce it. And I think, even if there is a short-term boost, bear in mind that a short-term immediate boost.
Oh dear, I think we might have lost the sound on Sir John Curtis there.
I wanted to ask him, how does he think the public will view a protracted Labour leadership contest, which will probably run Because will people be furious, think, why are you squabbling amongst yourselves? You've got a country to manage. It was hugely damaging to the Tories, after all.
It was, but on the other hand, it would be helpful to know what the different candidates propose to do, because Sir Keir Starmer has got himself in a mess. The Labour Party doing terribly in the polls. They had this manifesto. They've tried to keep to it, but it hasn't worked. They've made some unforced errors like the winter fuel allowance and various...
raising national insurance, saying it wasn't a tax on working people. Yes, it was, because it was a tax on employers who are working people who passed the tax on to their workers.
Indeed. But there's no money to play with. Britain is in more and more debt.
Yeah.
Actually, so far, only Wes Streeting has really come up with a more kind of fiscally responsible plan. He's probably got no chance of winning. He says he's got the 80 MPs to challenge Keir Starmer, but in some ways you could say it's in the interest of the country for all the different candidates to lay out their views.
And it's also very fascinating for us here on GB News.
Indeed, absolutely.
We'll like all of them to come on and tell us how they would change things. Now, up next, the Scottish Conservative Party has won a by-election for the first time north of the border in 67 years. But first, we're going to go to the giveaway, because it's your chance to win £76,543.21. Here's how you do it.
Hello from the Imperial Island Resort in Paphos, and it's the final week to see how you could win big in time for summer. Someone has to win our stunning cash prize of £76,543.21, and that person really could be you. Imagine all of the fun you could have this year with that. You could treat the family, treat your friends, make it a super summer for everyone you know. Or just enjoy a bit of me time, safe in the knowledge all those day-to-day financial stresses have been taken care of. £76,543.21 in totally tax-free cash could be yours in time for summer. Just don't miss out, as lines close on the 26th of June. Good luck!
For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, coming up next, the Scottish Conservative Party has won the Westminster by-election for the first time in over 50 years. We're going through that and more with Emma Trimble and Judita De Silva. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless, and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dawdley, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 19 minutes past 11. You're watching Britain's Newsroom, live across the United Kingdom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
We're joined again by Emma Trimble and Judita De Silva in the studio. We were just, I don't know if you heard Christopher Hope talking to Lou Haig, who was Transport Secretary at Bench and now key figure in Burnham's campaign, the leadership campaign. She hopes it's going to be an orderly coronation. I don't think that's going to happen.
Absolutely not. How many times have we said, surely Keir Starmer's got to go now, surely he has to resign after the locals, after the Peter Mandelson affair. I mean, there were several other, but there have been so many that I can't even remember them all. We've been saying for so long, surely he must resign soon. This man is going to hang on for dear life. I think he's going to, from his perspective, it would be sensible for him and his allies to try and delay as long as possible any leadership election so that there is time for the sparkle to wear off of Andy Burnham, because at the moment he is riding a wave, and if he were to go straight into a leadership election, then he would probably win it. I mean, he would probably win it, I think, anyway. But Keir Starmer obviously thinks that, his strategy is to just, hunker down, double down, stay put, and try to ride it out. And that's what he's done successfully so far, so there's no reason to think he wouldn't continue to try to do so.
But Judita, Andy Burnham seems to think he's going to change the face of British politics, that his win in Makerfield is a sign of great hope, but it's unclear yet what he wishes to do. And if he does want to bring radical change, he's got to bring Labour MPs along with him. And at the moment, we don't know what his policy platform is.
Which is part of the thing where I said, be careful of hubris and also be realistic, because on one hand, I do believe that it should be a slow and smooth transition. I'm hoping something that Jess Phillips mentioned last night when she was at LBC, where hopefully when Keir Starmer sees the names on the list when it comes to those 81 MPs, it might be a sobering effect on him to realise that I don't stand a chance here, and it might encourage him to usher in that transition smoothly. But the best thing for the party would be to have a smooth transition. But
Judita, I'm so sorry to stop you there, sorry. But we are now hearing from Kemi Badenoch. She is live up in Scotland celebrating Conservatives'
Douglas
win.
Lumsden to Parliament as the Conservative MP for Aberdeen South. What a journey. What a journey it has been. And there are so many people to thank, but we have to start by thanking the people of Aberdeen for putting their trust in us. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the people whose doors we knocked on, the people we met at the airport, on the plane, on the high street, everyone who asked us to save Aberdeen, the oil and gas sector, the many high street businesses, all of the people who are worried about the future of this city and what it is that we are leaving to the next generation. I want to thank you all for putting your faith in us. I also want to thank my fantastic Conservative team. We've got a bit of a gang here in Aberdeenshire. It is now Douglas Lumsden, of course, Andrew Bowie, Harriet Cross, and of course Russell Finley. And of course the campaign team, Mark McInnes, James Tweedy, Alex Burnett. You have all been fantastic. And all of you, all of our supporters, everyone, I know how much time it gave up knocking on doors, making sure that people heard the message. But Douglas, I can't tell you just what a fantastic candidate you were. He always had a smile on his face, no matter what was happening. He's one of the most positive people that I have ever met. And he radiated that positivity throughout the city. He ran a positive campaign. I mean, even Russell was grinning from ear to ear. And it was amazing. Thank you for fighting a campaign with integrity. Thank you for being this city's local champion. Thank you for all that you have done. On behalf of the party, thank you so much. What does Douglas's win mean? Throughout this campaign, we saw the media focused on the by-election that was happening in Makerfield. And he said, and I said, that the Makerfield by-election was about one man's job. The Aberdeen South by-election was about thousands of jobs all over the country, but especially in the oil and gas sector. And what this means is that we have won that referendum on oil and gas. Aberdeen has sent a message to the Labour government and to the SNP that we will not be ignored. Aberdeen will not be ignored. The sector will not be ignored. Energy security is national security. And what is happening right now as we kill the oil and gas sector is that we are killing our energy security. At a time when the government has lost a defence secretary, a cabinet minister, a minister for the armed forces, because they do not believe that Keir Starmer is protecting our country, that Keir Starmer can defend our country, we need to think about our national security and our energy security more than ever. That starts in Aberdeen. A message has been sent that we do need to drill our own oil in the North Sea, not take oil from Russia or Norway when we've got our own oil right here. Time to lift the ban on new oil and gas licenses. Let Jackdaw and Rosebank drill and provide energy and security to this country and to homes all across the UK. But more than that, this is a time for us to look at the future of our country. What is going to happen when so many parties are not focused on what matters to people? We have seen a government and a Labour Party that are so obsessed about their own party drama that they're not interested in the cost of living, they're not interested in what is happening to people all across this country, what is impacting their lives. And what I want to say to the people of Aberdeen is that we know that you have put your trust in us. And we know that it wasn't just Conservative voters who supported us. There were many people who voted Conservative for the first time, many people who liked what Douglas had to say. And I want you to know that we will never stop fighting for you. We will never stop fighting for oil and gas. We will never stop fighting for your jobs, for your families, for your city. Thank you, Aberdeen, for putting your trust in us. Shall we all go have a drink?
Well, that is Kemi Badenoch, and that is an unusual experience for a talk.
Yes, that's
winning
true.
a by-election against the odds, the first time they've won a by-election in Scotland since 1967. Now, we've got our panel with us, Emma Trimble and Judita here. I've just heard a great rumour. We will have a by-election for Mayor of Greater Manchester in the next, well, very shortly.
35 days, I think. Yeah.
Could Angela Rayner think, Cabinet's not for me, throw a hat in the ring? She is a Greater Manchester MP. What do you think?
Well, it's well within the realms of possibility. We are living through some very interesting times. And, I mean, that would also spark a by-election in her constituency as well.
Yes, it would.
Which,
where Reform came a very close second last time. They were only 6,000 votes behind.
And if Reform were to then go ahead and win Angela Rayner's constituency, I mean, it could really signal something about the, you know, we've just seen Reform losing this by-election, of course, and the Gorton and Denton one. But I think what we're seeing here is shaped by the new dynamics of our politics. And to see Kemi Badenoch there giving what I thought was a very heartfelt, authentic, sincere speech. It almost sounded, you know, as if they were, you know, part of that sort of subversive movement of parties, because they have now become exactly that
in that constituency, because what happened there was the SNP lost, I think they went down only 4% in vote share. Their vote didn't collapse at all. What happened was Labour voters voted Conservative. Tactically, this is very confusing on a national level.
But that's it goes back to the point I made, where people are no longer voting along party lines. It's about best for Britain lines. And Lumsden is a former oil and gas worker, and he spoke directly to what concerned people. And that whole thing that Andy Burnham had in authenticity in Makerfield, he has an authenticity for this election where he's talking about preserving a job he has done himself, something that affects him himself. So once you believe there's truth behind the politics, that's what moves you to vote. And to get over 50% of the vote, it makes me sick to say this, but I actually agree with Kemi Badenoch that people sent a resounding message that you cannot deny, that they want to drill and they wanted to forge ahead for oil and gas. You can't deny
and
that.
yet again...
And that would be a big test for Burnham if he becomes Prime Minister.
Quite, and especially if he wants to make Ed Miliband his Chancellor, because we've already seen that the Treasury being unwilling to hand over money to fund defence. Imagine how much more entrenched that would be under Ed Miliband's leadership. What we're seeing in both of these by-elections is a revolt against the policies of the establishment party. This is effectively a revolt against net zero policies, in favour of drilling in the North Sea, in favour of industry, and the Conservatives in this particular instance have benefited from it. It's also the first time, I think, that we've seen the improvements in the Conservative Party from Kemi Badenoch's leadership, because she has improved over time, starting to maybe translate into
make
results.
Her the most popular leader. If you take out Burnham, she's the most popular leader, even though the Tory party is trailing way behind her.
And she has been doing magnificently in Prime Minister's questions as well. So it has been the case, at least up until now, that Kemi had a Conservative Party problem rather than the Conservative Party having a Kemi problem. She's been excellent in PMQs, and I think that we're maybe starting to see this playing out. But as I say, this is the result of dynamics that are not really to do with party politics, as you also said, Judita. What we're seeing here is mini revolts against particular policies, against the establishment, and against the policies of this government.
In an ironic way, it's actually the best kind of environment for politics, because people are responsive to who is listening to them. Most of the times when you have blind loyalty to a party, you might vote against your own interests, which is what we've seen in America, where at the end of the day, what Trump has become, he's a president for the rich 1%. He's not a president, he's not the white president, he's the rich president. That's why the average working person, blue-collar work in America is suffering. And so now you have a situation here where people want, which is why I say also about this win in Scotland for Douglas Lumsden is, while you've gotten the vote now, it's about results, because never like before have you had an electorate that wants to see a result. So even though you're going to drill, how quickly will people feel it? Will their bills come down? What Labour has warned is that it doesn't necessarily mean that your bills are going to come down. So the promise of results on the other side of this might not be what they actually seem. And then you have the Brexit effect, where you promise the moon and the stars and get nothing in actuality.
And context matters. I mean, the Conservatives are, in the Scottish context, an insurgent party. And I think Keir Starmer and many of the Labour Party leadership, they seem to have their head in the sands. They think, this by-election that Andy Burnham has just won is a sign that they're trying to spin it as saying there's not going to be a leadership election, and this is a sign that people are in favour of what we're doing, when it's obviously...
But with Angela Rayner, I do think that it would be dangerous to lose her seat to Reform, because that is something that looks bad on you personally. But the idea of having a seat of power where you get to prove yourself as a woman from Labour in leadership is very attractive. So I'm not sure...
But if she didn't win the Manchester mayoralty, she wouldn't have to step down from her seat.
Andy Burnham said that he will put his engine behind whichever Labour candidate goes.
She is a big hitter. She's a big figure. People know her. She's got a high profile.
And it would look feel good to have the likes of Andy Burnham in Westminster, having her in Manchester. Because remember, like, we even went back to when I worked at the BBC. Manchester was always proposed as the new London.
Yes.
And the way it was designed back there when they moved the BBC Sports and Children's, and I worked on that team, it was like, this is the next London. We're going to deal with congestion in London by creating the new London. To having a Labour leader there, the Labour leader in Westminster, who are firebrands, it's a sexy.
It's one nation socialism.
My word. On that note.
Yeah. Thank you to our panel. We're going to keep you up to date because Sam, I'm just about to call him the Prime Minister. The future Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, has spoken.
I thought you were talking about Sam Francis.
Yes. Well, he might be future Prime Minister. I don't know what his political ambitions are.
For now, he has the 60-second news update.
Very good morning to you. 11:30, the headlines this hour. Andy Burnham has said his Makerfield by-election victory is a change moment for British politics. He secured the seat with almost 25,000 votes. That's more than Reform UK, Restore Britain and the Tories combined. Speaking at a rally in the constituency, he told supporters the party now has one final opportunity to offer the country something different.
It is our last chance to change, but we're going to take it, aren't we? We are going to take that opportunity and we are going to lay out a new path for Britain.
Well, his return to Westminster has increased pressure on Sir Keir Starmer, with allies hoping the Prime Minister will stand down. But Sir Keir has shown no signs of leaving number 10.
If there is a contest, just to be clear with you, then yes, I will run, I will stand, and I've said repeatedly, I'm not going to walk away from that.
Meanwhile, in Scotland, the Conservatives have taken Aberdeen South in one of two by-elections held north of the border. The SNP held Arbroath and Broughty Ferry in contests triggered after the previous MPs were elected to Holyrood. Cambridge police say a man arrested after a 3-year-old boy was allegedly thrown into a crocodile enclosure is not fit to be interviewed by officers. The 30-year-old, who is understood to have been on a day trip with his carer, has been bailed until September. He was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder, while the boy remains in a critical but stable condition. And Scotland are chasing back-to-back World Cup wins when they face Morocco in Boston tonight. After their historic 1-0 victory over Haiti, First Minister John Swinney says that Steve Clarke's side have the verve, the energy and the ability to go again. Those are the latest headlines, a full roundup of all the news at midday.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Well, coming up next, a bad day at the office for Reform UK. Richard Tice spoke to GB News earlier.
We had a number of Reform voters, specifically tactically on this occasion, voted Burnham to guarantee to remove the most unpopular Prime Minister in living memory.
Well, Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform UK, has admitted the result was disappointing.
I'm disappointed by that, no question about it.
Can I just say, by the way, to those idiots who keep putting they want to go back in the EU posters behind public speakers, whether they're Tory or Reform, the rejoin the EU candidate in the Makerfield by-election got 35 votes. Ponder it.
Not a resounding endorsement. You're watching
35 votes. So shove your blooming stupid posters. This is Britain's Newsroom on GBNews.
The home of free speech.
Hello, very good day to you. This is your GB News weather forecast coming to you from the Met Office. Across northwestern parts today, it is going to be pretty wet, but further southeast, it's hot and it's largely sunny. The big contrast in our weather is due to a waving frontal system that's lying across northwestern areas through today, and it's already brought a fair amount of rain across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, and into the afternoon that rain's going to be edging across parts of northern and western Wales and into northern England as well. Like I said, however, across more central southeastern parts, it's largely sunny, and with that sunshine, we are tapping into some hot air from the near continent, so temperatures getting into the low 30s here, hotter than it was yesterday. Fresher, though, towards the northwest with the cloud and the rain around high teens, low 20s. Through into the evening, and the more persistent rain will have pushed across much of Scotland, but there will be some showery bursts following in behind, and some of the showers could be a bit heavy. Couldn't even rule out a little bit of thunder, similar across much of Northern Ireland as well. The more persistent rain will be lingering across northern England and a large chunk of Wales, fringing into parts of southwest England as well. Across more central eastern parts of England, however, it's a fine end to the day, pretty warm as well. Overnight, the rain will gradually shift its way a bit further eastwards. It does break up a little bit as it goes, but nonetheless there could be some heavy persistent bursts pushing across parts of northeast England and swathes across southern Scotland as well. Most places will see a bit of rain and a bit more cloud coming through. As a result, it is going to stay warm and quite muggy, similar to some recent nights. Then a bit of a cloudy and for some damp start first thing on Saturday morning, but high pressure is building, and so that's going to help clear away any showery rain. Just a few showers lingering over parts of Scotland through much of the day. Otherwise, lots of dry, bright weather by the afternoon, and whilst it is going to be still hot in the south, temperatures down a couple of degrees compared to today, mid to high 20s perhaps.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 21 minutes to 12. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Andy Burnham's landslide victory against Reform in the Makerfield by-election has now put Farage's future to become Britain's next Prime Minister in jeopardy, you would argue, because there is now a rival on the right. It's called Restore Britain, set up by Rupert Lowe, who left Reform, or was rather kicked out of Reform last year after he fell out with Nigel Farage some 15 months ago. They got 7% of the vote in Makerfield. It wouldn't have made any difference to the outcome, 41% between the two of them.
Yeah.
But if they were to get 7% or 8% in every constituency they fight, they're going to take those votes directly from Reform.
That's right, and they could cost Reform seats at general election.
Yeah.
I mean, the national polling doesn't put them anywhere near 7%, more like 2.5%, and obviously they did throw an awful lot of resource at this constituency, run a very online campaign, had hundreds, I think, of volunteers. Perhaps
they had 1,200 on one weekend,
so
last weekend.
They put everything into it. But I think it's really difficult to tell, isn't it, from one by-election. But certainly this split on the right could cost Reform dear. It's a very, very difficult result for Reform because how do you quantify the Andy Burnham factor? It was clearly huge, 34% for them, not bad at all. I mean, it's higher than their national poll rating, but still it's a loss. And that looks like a fall in momentum.
And Makerfield was a seat which had Reform written all over it. White, traditional working class voters, they voted 65% for Brexit, but perversely chose a candidate who voted to remain in the European Union.
Exactly, and this is why I don't really buy Richard Tice's explanation that lots of Reform voters lent their vote to Andy Burnham, because if you want to see a Reform government, you're probably very, very against the current Labour government. Well, putting Burnham in power in number 10 is probably going to give a boost
Burnham
to number
has
10.
Publicly more than once he wants to take us back into the European Union, but not yet.
Well, Farage himself was very candid about the loss and had some interesting comments to make, which I think we can listen to now.
Well, the Makerfield by-election was a dramatic, emphatic win for Andy Burnham, with a vote share that nobody could quite see coming. In many ways, he's a popular local mayor, just as Boris Johnson was a very popular mayor in London just a few years ago. What really happened here is it was vote Burnham, get Starmer out. which of course was our campaign message leading up to the locals on the 7th of May. So we were slightly hoist with our own petard. As for the Reform vote share, well, I thought we'd get 18,000 votes. We got just shy of 16, so I'm disappointed by that, no question about it. But I would say this, there's a couple of thousand voters there who would normally have gone out and voted Reform that voted Restore. And I would say directly to them, what do you want? We are the challenger party to the left in this country, and I would urge you to think again. I really, really would. In Scotland, we were pleased to come second in Arbroath, but the Conservatives had a win in Aberdeen South. Well, good for them. There's an irony, though, that it was Jeremy Hunt's budget that destroyed investment in the North Sea. They've won, and I think what we'll see now is the Conservatives will have their pockets of strength around the country. But in the north of England, the Midlands, South Wales, many other areas, the Conservative vote now averages in by-election after by-election around about 2%. So Reform still is the big national party on the centre-right. A disappointing morning, but we keep going.
Nigel Farage there in a direct appeal to Restore voters to come back to Reform.
And you see, and there's a real fracturing on the right because, of course, at the last election, a lot of Tories lost their seats because the votes they would have normally expected went to Reform. So we can now have a fracturing three ways.
Yeah.
Extraordinary.
Well, it's going to be very unpredictable, the next general election. Well, we're joined now by our GB News national reporter, Jack Carson. He is live in Makerfield, been speaking to people on the ground. Jack, do people still love Andy Burnham as much this morning as they have during the campaign?
Well, seemingly, but there is the word pressure that is coming to me with the things that people have been saying, because really Andy Burnham standing on that platform of hope, of change, of saying in his winning speech that this is the final chance they've got for change. When I was here a few weeks ago in the middle of the by-election campaign, people were telling me that their trust in politicians was dwindling. They just didn't believe the promises that were said to them. So to say that there is a bit of pressure on Andy Burnham now to deliver something that he's promised these people and these voters here is a bit of an understatement. Take a listen, though, to some of the things they've been telling me as I've been speaking to them this morning. I think he should challenge Keir Starmer for the Labour leadership.
I'm not sure about that, but if he does, I'll be made up for him if he gets it. But I like Keir as well.
Do you worry that he's going to abandon this constituency to go down to Westminster and try and become the Prime Minister?
No, I don't think he would. Hopefully he wouldn't, because you have to look at the bigger picture. If he gets Prime Minister, he might do more for Action, you don't know. But I don't get Keir Starmer. I don't get him at all. He's no personality. He's nothing to me. He's just...
I don't think Starmer's the right man.
Why? What is it about him?
He's no talent for the job. He's a nice man, I think. I don't dislike him as a person, but I don't think he's right for the job.
Yes, as you heard there, there's just not a lot of love, really, for Keir Starmer in this kind of area, whereas you compare that to a figure like Andy Burnham, who, within the Greater Manchester mayoralty, was very popular. He's a very well-known face and person, even though he doesn't necessarily live in this constituency. So it was almost a case of, well, he's the man we know. He's probably the one we trust the most. Funnily enough, I've just been speaking to a Reform voter who just didn't think that their candidate selection was strong enough. Maybe somebody else could have created a bit more of a bigger challenge. Of course, we know now really the only challenge out of this is coming to Keir Starmer and his leadership in number 10.
Jack Carson in Makerfield, thank you very much for that report.
The straightforward way those people answer those questions. Well, he's no talent for the job.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it personally, just
yes.
And that's about sums it up, doesn't
People
it?
are straightforward up north, Andrew.
They are.
Well, plenty more to come in this huge day of politics. But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of our top European destinations.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Remarkable heat at the moment across parts of France and northern Spain for the time of year. Pretty hot in Italy as well. Lots of very warm sunshine in Greece. A mixture of sunshine and a bit of cloud over the Canaries. Fine for much of Iberia. Only the small chance of seeing a shower. Temperatures in south of France along the coast close to 30 degrees, but higher than that inland, and up to 37 or 38 in Rome over the next few days, where there is an increasing chance of some showers into the early part of next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
As we know, in a democracy, you're free to choose how you want to celebrate. And this is right on brand for Donald Trump. He loves to be a big spectacle with any celebration he does. He wants it to be big. He wants it to grab headlines. And clearly right now he wants to show strength. So it's a tactical decision as well. As we know, there's a very unpopular war going on with Iran, and he's hoping to announce a deal tonight, which would be the greatest birthday gift he could get, because we do need a deal. But it's only Donald Trump who would choose to do this. A lot of the people who follow UFC voted for him, and he's being tactical ahead of midterm elections, trying to show strength.
GB News, the People's Channel. Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
5 years ago from today, I got to meet my absolute hero, Nigel Farage, and rub shoulders with Dan Wootton and Andrew Neil, the latter being particularly grumpy. He was less than impressed as well when the sound failed during his first broadcast. The lighting was dreadful. I looked mouldy, and at one point I was practically invisible during a breakfast show because of a black backdrop behind me. I was little more than eyes and teeth. We faced obstacle after obstacle, including Stop Funding Hate, an activist group that set about trying to destroy us before we'd even broadcast a single second. Advertisers were frightened off, and hostility towards the channel was actively encouraged, which was deeply ironic. But still, we persisted. If anything, it made us more creative and more resilient.
GB News, the People's Channel. Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Ian McKellen is helping relaunch the Yard Theatre up in Hackney, which reopens this summer, with a new purpose-built 200-capacity auditorium. Tiny, but he'll be doing a brand new version of King Lear. Up in Scotland, Alan Cumming has taken over the Pitlochry Festival. And I just want people to know that all these small theatres, number one, it's not such a big risk. Ticket prices are £30, £35, £40, top price. And you can find less than that. So you can take a risk, but you'll go along and you'll experience something. You'll be part of something. And I am a huge fan of what we get in the West End. It's world class, but it is a lot of money. And it's sometimes just a little bit predictable or complacent or safe, I would say. Not always, but sometimes.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. GB News political editor Christopher Hope joins us live from Makerfield, where all the action has been happening.
Yeah, that's right, Andrew, and hi, Miriam. Now, in the gates behind me is Andy Burnham, still with his friends and supporters, having a beer, I expect, maybe a Guinness. We'll wait and see. So we'll wait and see if we can grab a quick word with him as he leaves. Of course, a huge weekend coming up for him. I was shouting at him a lot, saying, do you want to be Prime Minister? Have you talked to the Prime Minister yet? Will you stand or not? And he wasn't replying. In fact, he basically ran away from the journalists at the and all the journalists really at the end, which is fair enough. I mean, this is his moment to say thank you to the people of Makerfield. But his speech was something else, I thought. He talked about the idea of a Makerfield test, and he talked also about this HMO Britain idea, which I think will resonate so much with GB News viewers and listeners. After he finished speaking, I caught up with Louise Haigh, who ran his campaign and is expected to have a key role in any new Burnham administration. Here's a bit of what she told GB News. Louise Haig, what is the Makerfield test?
Makerfield test is if it doesn't work for Makerfield and communities like it, then it shouldn't be done. With policy should be set in the centre and locally here, regionally here, that make sense for the people of Makerfield. And Andy's message throughout this campaign is that communities like this have been ignored for too long. He wants to change the way we do politics in Westminster in order to change the way the country is run.
He's going back, though. Will he be running for leader?
He's been very clear that if there is a contest, he will enter it, and we really hope that Keir Starmer reflects on the results of this, the resounding message that has come from the people of Makerfield. Think deeply about what's in the best interest of the country and the party.
Has he got the support already on the backbenches? 81 MPs to stand now.
Andy Burnham has proven time and time again he has the support in the PLP, in the membership, and quite clearly in the country as well.
Has he spoken yet to the Prime Minister?
Not so far.
But over this weekend?
He absolutely hopes to speak to Keir Starmer over the coming days, and so that we can agree a respectful and managed and orderly way that keeps the government serving the interests of the people, but make sure that we can get through this and have the best possible chance of putting the government back in the interest of the country and the best possible shot of winning the next general election.
Why hasn't Sir Keir Starmer done this then? Why is Andy Burnham the right person?
Andy Burnham, as the people of Makerfield have just shown, is the best possible way of representing hope and optimism to the country and of defeating reform. Just 6 weeks ago, half of the people in this constituency voted for reform, and last night Andy won nearly 55% of the vote, a resounding victory.
Louise Haig there, a managed and orderly transition. She says the Prime Minister should reflect on the result last night. These are the words of someone who thinks there will be a leadership campaign involving Andy Burnham against the Prime Minister very, very shortly. If I can just show you that this is the kind of attention Andy Burnham is going to get from now on. These are all the journalists waiting outside the gate of the home of Ashton Town Football Club. This kind of focus is what's going to happen now a lot to Andy Burnham in the coming days, weeks and months, as we expect him to stand and very possibly win and become the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
I think that's a very, very wise prediction, Chris. That's Christopher Hope, who is our political editor. Well, what an extraordinary morning, Miriam.
Indeed.
A decisive landslide victory for Andy Burnham, leaving Reform trailing in their wake and Restore splitting the vote.
Well,
That's
what comes next? Indeed.
Yeah. What comes next is Good Afternoon Britain with Charlie and Anna. We'll see you next week.
Well, Andy Burnham, he takes pole position for the leadership challenge. That's quite interesting. Keir Starmer refusing to step down. We will carry on with that story.
Yes, we'll also get all the latest from the by-elections in Scotland and also some focus on these ongoing conflicts in Europe and the Middle East. And we'll have a researcher on the programme telling us how Britain is wasting £8 billion a year on major projects. All that after the break.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A hot one for some today across southern and eastern parts of England, but further west and further north, very different feel. Dull and damp outbreaks of rain across Northern Ireland and western Scotland this morning. Some heavy bursts of rain too. That rain creeping towards the west coast of Wales, and we'll see things turning a bit damp over northwest England too. But for a good part of East Wales, central England, eastern England, it's dry and it's sunny, and it's going to get pretty hot by this afternoon. Already quite warm and humid out there. We could see highs of 30, 31 degrees across East Anglia and the southeast. Temperatures further west in the low 20s, only high teens with this rain across Scotland and Northern Ireland. Potential for some thunderstorms, particularly in Northern Ireland during the afternoon, and eventually the cloud and rain will be creeping its way into Devon, Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. But as I said, much of central and eastern England stays dry and fine. There's that rainy zone getting into northwest England, across North Wales, some heavy bursts of rain mixed in, the potential for some thunderstorms scooting away from Northern Ireland this evening, and things turning a bit brighter to end the day over northwest Scotland. Not just brighter, but also a little bit fresher here as well. We won't have the humidity as high here as it will be elsewhere. The cloud and the rain continue to edge in across northern England, a little bit of it getting into southern parts of Wales and the Midlands, and then another pulse of showery rain. Again, some of it heavy, comes in through the night for Northern Ireland and Scotland. A warm, humid, uncomfortable night tonight. Temperatures in the south and towns and cities holding up in the high teens in places. So a wet start to the weekend then for central and eastern Scotland, but that showery rain should scoot away. Quite cloudy for many to begin with tomorrow, but I think the cloud will tend to break up. Many places will see some sunny